This story follows. There and Liam through my noble family is headed for ruin, so I may as well study magic in my free time, where one choice starts pulling the whole cast into trouble. Across these chapters, the story moves through cursed mysteries, royal pressure, and dangerous duels and confrontations, building from setup into consequences. The overview jumps from the opening setup to the later turning points, so you can feel the shape of the full arc without spoiling every step. By the end of this stretch, the early choices and hidden pressure are all aiming at the same breaking point. So before the recap starts at the beginning, here is the quick shape of the journey. If you want more full story recaps like this, like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get into it. A simple caterpillar hunt just turned into a slaughter, with Asuna's sword bouncing uselessly off armored carapaces while the boy's magic fizzles into nothing. Refusing to freeze, she darts away to lure the beasts, forcing him to harden his resolve and fight on. A monster charges straight for them, all teeth and shell. Liam clenches his fist, forcing a trembling ball of light to flare in his palm as he screams for it to hold. With Asuna shouting warnings, his shaky magic is the only thing standing between them and a brutal impact. Instead of a normal spell, Liam throws his hands up and summons a pale humming cube into the air. He shouts the incantation for item box, leaving Asuna staring in pure confusion as the strange box hovers between them. The item box balloons into a massive transparent cube, catching the charging beast head-on and swallowing it in a blinding flash. A thunderous boom rolls across the battlefield, leaving Asuna screaming at the sheer scale of the blast. Magic is a locked-away weapon, monopolized by royalty and completely unreachable for commoners. But right now, a desperate attendant is shaking a slumped young master awake, begging him to open his eyes. The young master jolts awake in a grand banquet hall, paralyzed by unfamiliar nobles and the feast around him. He looks down at his hands, small, wrong, and completely not his own, clawing at his face as the impossible truth hits: he's been shoved into a child's body. Shaking violently, Liam barely registers a man asking if he's alright before an attendant nudges him from behind. The Count's stern face looms over him, forcing Liam to stammer out a confused congratulation while his mind races in pure panic. The Count lifts his wine with a sharp, satisfied smile, telling the boy to enjoy the celebration. Around them, nobles mingle in blissful ignorance, completely unaware the child standing among them is barely holding his sanity together. As the Count walks away, Liam forces down a shaky breath. He survived the first encounter, but the panic doesn't fade. His face tightens with grim determination. He needs intel, and he needs it before his cover blows. Listening through the banquet chaos, Liam pieces together the horrifying truth. He is trapped in the body of 12-year-old Liam Hamilton. He isn't just in some random noble house, he's the fifth son of the fourth generation, standing in a family celebrating a newborn daughter. He quickly realizes the celebration wasn't just about the newborn girl, but a desperate play by the Count and his official wife. Surrounded by the Count's 5 sons, Liam grips his sweating head, completely unable to understand why he was forced into this specific, doomed life. Back in his room, Liam's frustration boils over as he screams at his smooth, childish reflection. He mourns the manhood he lost in his past life, realizing that in this world, a beard means power, and he is stuck with absolutely none of it. Morning arrives with a maid rolling in a clothing cart, cheerfully greeting the young master. When she tells him to pick his outfit for the day, Liam's panic flips into giddy disbelief at the sheer luxury of having 3 outfits to choose from. But this noble life is on a timer. The Hamilton title drops to commoner status if the third-generation head fails to earn a massive achievement. Liam realizes his father only cares about the eldest son and the newborn daughter, planning to sell her off as the Emperor's queen and leaving the rest of them as disposable fodder. During private lessons, the 4th son Bruno slouches in his seat, loudly declaring that no amount of effort will matter. Sitting beside him, Liam quickly recognizes a kindred spirit. As the 5th son, neither of them is expected to save the family, making their schooling feel completely pointless. Bruno is disgustingly relaxed about their useless status, casually explaining that their father is just breeding daughters to sell to the Emperor. When Liam asks about the oldest nobles, Bruno drops the Hamilton name, and Liam finally connects the dots about the 3-generation rule and the desperate reason behind their massive celebration. Ignoring the noble drama, Liam's curiosity shifts entirely to magic, asking Bruno where he can learn it. Bruno points him to the mansion's archive but warns him that only 1 in 100 people have the talent, dismissing Liam's interest as a complete waste of time. Bruno's doubt only sends Liam sprinting back to the mansion, laughing like a madman at the chance to learn magic. He bursts in panting and demands the archives from a startled maid, completely forgetting to act like a dignified nobleman because he is too hooked on the thrill. The maid unlocks the archive, releasing a heavy, dusty smell from the sealed room. Liam doesn't mind at all. His eyes light up at the packed shelves of grimoires, and his hand immediately lands on a spine labeled Elementary Fire Magic. The grimoire warns that raising temperature is the easiest form of magic, yet still impossible for 99% of the population. Refusing to back down, Liam grips the book, raises a single finger, and pours every ounce of his focus into casting his very first spell. A tiny flame snaps to life at his fingertip, hitting him like an absolute miracle. He nearly loses his composure, shouting in triumph, realizing that despite the odds, he actually possesses magical talent. He still doesn't understand how he ended up in this child's body, but the tiny flame burning at his fingertip changes everything. Gripping the grimoire tight, his fear melts into pure excitement as he realizes he can carve out his own future through magic. Hugging the grimoire to his chest, Liam stands in the dusty archive with a bright, helpless grin. He might be trapped in a doomed noble family, but with magic real and within his reach, he can't help but feel genuinely excited about his new life. Liam approaches his father's desk, nervously asking for permission to borrow grimoires from the archive. Count Hamilton barely looks up from his paperwork, casually waving him off with a dismissive go-ahead, leaving Liam stunned that it was so easy. The Count's easy permission instantly turns ice cold. His eyes narrow with pure impatience as he snaps that he is far too busy to entertain his son. The door shuts with a hard slam, and outside, the bitter rejection makes Liam finally understand Bruno's deadened, cynical attitude. Walking the massive estate with his new grimoire, Liam marvels at the sheer scale of the Hamilton lands. But the awe quickly curdles into dread when he realizes that losing their noble status means losing all of this, making his father's desperate, soul-sucking workload make brutal sense. Settling under a tree, Liam flips open the grimoire and tries to force himself into the required meditative state. Minutes tick by in agonizing silence, his face straining so hard against the mental pressure that he can barely hide the physical toll. He finally pulls off the Flameblade spell, shouting in triumph as the grimoire smokes on the grass. But the catch hits him fast. The book is just a guide, meaning he needs to drill the activation until the cast time drops, turning quick casting into his ultimate advantage. Thrilled by his new powers, Liam spends the next month obsessively training in the trees until Bruno stumbles upon him. Teasing him for playing alone, Bruno's curiosity spikes when he hears about the magic practice, demanding Liam show him what he's learned. Liam grins, shuts the grimoire with a firm thud, and forces the flame to answer without the book's guidance. A burning arc slashes through the air as he shouts the incantation, leaving Bruno staring in absolute shock that he can cast without a grimoire. Bruno nearly loses his mind when Liam admits he mastered it in a single month, snatching the grimoire to try it himself. When his own magic fizzles, Bruno tries to save face by praising the ancient book, but his suspicion boils over as he accuses Liam of training to steal the family headship. Bruno lays out the ugly truth. The head must hand over the title before death to prevent a succession war, which is why their father is working himself to the bone to save their aristocratic status. Liam finally sees the crushing burden behind his father's coldness, but the toxic noble politics disgust him so much he just gives up, leaving Bruno to walk off in disbelief. Riding the high of mastering fire, Liam immediately grabs the next challenge, elementary ice magic. The book warns that ice is 1,000 times rarer and far harder to cast than fire, but Liam just stares at S with feverish excitement, completely unfazed by the impossible odds. Realizing the grimoire acts as a magical catalyst, Liam tries to cast a spell directly from the open pages. The book instantly bursts into flames, forcing him to panic, hurl it away, and stomp the burning grimoire flat before the whole archive goes up. Caught kneeling beside the smoking book, Liam freezes as his father storms in, furious about the fire in the hallway. The Count's anger completely stalls when he reads the title of the ice grimoire. He realizes Liam accidentally cast fire magic instead, his eye going wide with pure disbelief as the implications hit him. Grabbing Liam by the shoulders, the Count demands to know why he isn't holding a fire grimoire, suddenly realizing his son might have already mastered it. Spotting the ice book, the Count nearly loses his mind again, barking at a maid to bring a chair so he can watch the proof with his own eyes. Sitting rigid under his father's intense stare, Liam forces the book open and latches on to the core principle of ice magic, dragging heat away instead of creating it. He steadies his breathing, picturing the cold forming inside him until his fear sharpens into absolute confidence. Frost spreads across the grimoire instead of flame, shattering the Count's composure as he realizes his son actually cast ice magic. Throwing his head back, the Count roars that Liam is a gift from the gods, instantly promising to buy him every grimoire in existence no matter the cost. Back in the office, a servant interrupts with urgent news that a highly wanted man is hiding right inside their territory, hardening the Count's face in disbelief. Meanwhile, out in the trees, Liam is snapped out of his studies by a footstep, whirling around to find a stranger sitting under a nearby tree. The stranger checks Liam's clothes and asks his name, his face twisting in frustration when Liam admits he is Liam Hamilton. Bracing for capture, Liam raises his hands, but the man immediately backs off, scratching his head and admitting he was just too nervous, leaving Liam completely baffled by the bizarre encounter. Trying to ignore the weirdo, Liam gets back to his grimoire practice, but the stranger calls out, offering to show him how to cast more efficiently. He explains that while beginners rely on endless repetition, there is a specific tool that can help maintain and stabilize spells cast from a grimoire. The stranger spreads his fingers, letting lightning, ice, and flame flicker all at once to demonstrate casting multiple spells simultaneously. He drops the real hook, naming the exact ice spells Liam has been struggling with, and promises that combining them will make him learn exponentially faster. Amused that Liam lacks the useless pride of a spoiled noble, the stranger decides to test his affinity. He orders Liam to draw circles with his right hand and squares with his left at the exact same time, watching intently as the boy drops to the dirt and starts scratching the shapes. When Liam admits he has never practiced this before, the stranger's eyes sharpen, realizing the boy possesses an excellent natural affinity. Skipping the grueling beginner exercises, the stranger tells him to shut out the world and concentrate on holding two completely different spells at once. Liam locks into absolute concentration, gathering a fire cutter in his right hand and a fireball in his left. The magic trembles violently under the immense strain, but he forces his mind to hold both spells steady, refusing to let either flame collapse. Snapping out of his trance, Liam hurls both hands forward and screams his release. The fire cutter and fireball tear through the air side by side in a roaring streak, perfectly stable and launched at the exact same time. Liam's eyes go wide as the twin flames rip forward with a sharp crack, completely intact and flying together. Beside him, the stranger lets out a soft, amused chuckle, thoroughly impressed by how fast the boy's raw talent is showing. Flushed with victory, Liam throws his fists up, completely unaware that dual casting is an extremely difficult secret technique only 1 in a million people can manage. The stranger's smile sharpens with deep interest, calling the boy's effortless display incredibly interesting, while Liam just blinks in confusion. Jabbing 3 fingers into the air, the stranger orders Liam to try holding 3 spells at once. Not fully understanding the exercise but too deep to back out, Liam shuts his eyes and spreads his hands, reaching for the magic despite the uncertainty clawing at him. Liam splits his focus wide open, pulling a flame cutter, a fireball, and a hot floor into existence all at once. The flames crack and swish violently around him, but none of them collapse, leaving him perfectly balanced while holding 3 separate spells together. Liam's eyes blaze with pure, helpless joy as the magic flares to life. Until the second he tries to hold it, the spell pops and vanishes into thin air. The stranger just smirks, entirely unfazed, laughing that this spectacular failure is actually a masterpiece. The stranger's grin sharpens. Pulling off a dual cast at this age is unheard of, but he warns that holding multiple spells burns magic power at double the rate. It's time to sit down and learn the brutal, real rules of the craft. Liam instantly drops to his knees, offering his absolute obedience to this mysterious phantom of a teacher. The first lesson isn't about mana, it's about prime numbers, as strange glowing mathematical markings carve themselves into the dirt. The stranger lays down the law: simultaneous magic activation only works with prime numbers. Even if Liam has the raw energy to hold 5 spells, casting 4 is physically impossible, locking his progression into a rigid, unforgiving pattern. To prove his point, the stranger casually unleashes 13 spells at once, erupting in a terrifying storm of blades, flame, lightning, and stone. He drives home the cruel reality: 16 spells are completely useless because the next possible leap demands 17. 14, 15, and 16 are just a dead-end plateau. Only 17 counts as a true breakthrough. The stranger praises Liam's sharp mind, casually guessing the boy is 12 or 13, completely blind to the fact that Liam's soul is far older. Leaning in with a dangerous grin, the stranger asks if Liam wants to learn even more. The boy's eyes ignite with a desperate yes, right before the man pulls a glittering, impossible object straight out of thin air. He calls it a Magicpedia, a mythical ring capable of absorbing and storing up to 100 different grimoires inside a single band of metal. Liam's mind goes completely blank at the sheer, world-breaking scale of the power resting on his finger. The ring flashes, and a violent surge of power floods Liam's mind with over 300 spell names in a single heartbeat. His fist trembles with raw anticipation as he points forward, absolutely electrified by the limitless arsenal now at his fingertips. He immediately reaches for a new incantation, muttering that he'll try Windshot first. A roaring, violent gust tears forward, unleashing the spell straight out of the tiny ring while the stranger watches with sharpened, predatory interest. The spell breaks when a frantic maid finally catches up, scolding Liam for wandering alone in a forest crawling with venomous snakes. Liam's face tightens with dread when she looks right through his teacher. Was the stranger a ghost all along? Right before she hands over a grimoire from his father, Liam sends the maid away and lets out a relieved sigh, only for the stranger to materialize right behind him, grinning at the new book. Liam whirls around in a panic, realizing the man never left at all. He was just cloaked in a flawless invisibility spell. Rattled by the phantom-like display, Liam stares at the grimoire until the stranger points out that the book's contents are already copied into his ring. Before vanishing into the woods for good, he gives one final lesson, read the book, but cast the magic through the ring. The mechanics finally click in Liam's mind. He opens the grimoire, forces the first written spell into his memory, and watches in awe as raw power starts curling around his arms to summon a low-grade fire spirit. A tiny salamander bursts into existence with a sharp, fiery roar, making Liam cheer in stunned delight that his first summoning actually worked. But the little spirit immediately twists into a stream of light and gets sucked right back into the ring, leaving Liam staring in giddy amazement. The stranger's voice cuts through the excitement. The ring doesn't boost the magic at all, it just imports the grimoire's raw contents. Liam doesn't care, absolutely thrilled that he can carry every spell he needs, and dives back into the book to summon a low-grade wind spirit. He keeps importing the grimoire's contents, pulling a low-grade water spirit and then a low-grade earth spirit into the ring. Magic streams from S with a sharp hiss, and once the transfer finishes, he throws his hands up in pure satisfaction. Liam blinks, realizing the empty woods are truly empty. The stranger has vanished without a trace, leaving only fading footprints and a final echoing message. The man was never really there, but Liam smiles softly, deeply grateful to the phantom mentor who just changed his life. A month later, Count Hamilton catches Liam returning from the forest, finding his son effortlessly activating 5 spells at once while carrying 100 in his ring. Liam holds out a sparkling handful of high-quality crystals and quietly tells his father he forged them himself. Count Hamilton stares at the reincarnated crystals in absolute shock, realizing Liam somehow turned raw soil into a highly demanded magic resource that instantly replenishes power. He grips the crystal tighter, his eyes burning with sharp suspicion as he demands to know how a child pulled off such a feat. Liam demonstrates his process by summoning the Earth Spirit Gnome, carefully digging up the special soil growing around the reincarnated grass. He packs the dirt together by hand, forming a rough, dense sphere that serves as the first step to creating the crystals. 3 fireballs roar around the packed soil sphere, heating it from every angle while Liam uses the Wind Spirit Sylph to drive the flames deeper. Under that controlled, intense blaze, the molten soil jerks away, and high-purity reincarnated crystals begin to glitter into existence. Liam thrusts out the sparkling cluster, proudly announcing he forged them using 5 spells at once. Count Hamilton's shock melts into stunned approval, praising his son for matching the output of 5 master magicians and making Liam beam with genuine, hard-earned happiness. Riding the high, Liam carves through a pile of logs with Flamecutter, realizing his new precision lets him build things he previously only understood in theory. He packs the chopped wood into a rough mound of soil, sealing it underground like a crude, makeshift kiln. 3 fireballs roar beneath the soil-packed kiln, driving the buried logs through a controlled, airless burn, while Sylph keeps outside air from slipping in. Gnome covers the ventilation hole as smoke surges, waiting for the final command to strip the soil away once the fire dies. The buried kiln finally pays off, spitting out transformed white charcoal that rings with a clean, sharp sound when tapped. Liam nearly bursts with pride at the valuable, high-burning fuel until heavy footsteps interrupt him and Bruno steps out of the woods. Bruno picks up the handmade white charcoal and flicks it at Liam like an embarrassing toy, completely unimpressed by the grueling hard work. But his mocking attitude instantly vanishes, replaced by a bright, proud grin as he grips his chest and announces his marriage has been decided. Bruno explains he's becoming the son-in-law of a poor but first-generation noble family, a safe retirement. Liam awkwardly congratulates him on. Then Bruno's mood darkens, his smile twisting into a low, bitter laugh as he leans in to share a secret about their father's biggest, deadliest mistake. Bruno drops the horrifying truth. Shortly after Liam was born, their father broke a monster seal on purpose to claim the glory of subjugating it. The pride-driven gamble collapsed into an absolute massacre, nearly wiping out the army and costing almost 1,000 men just to reseal the beast. The disaster happened because their father tried to squeeze 2 massive merits out of a single sealed monster to secure 6 generations of family glory. That catastrophic failure is exactly why he stopped chasing personal achievement, and Bruno sharply tells Liam he needs to find a way to leave the house immediately. Bruno's warning lands like a physical blow, pushing Liam to stop drifting as a useless 5th son and start building his own independence. He heads straight to the charcoal guild with his white charcoal, successfully selling his first batch and earning a warm send-off from the clerk. The solid price for the charcoal sparks dreams of an independence fund, but Liam's face quickly hardens as he realizes it isn't nearly enough money to buy his freedom. His stomach growls, pulling his attention to the city's crowded soup-based noodle stalls and sparking a new, much more lucrative idea. Liam clocks the local obsession with noodles and orders a steaming, salty bowl from a busy stall. The moment the rich broth hits his tongue, the taste slams the answer into him and his eyes sharpen with absolute, terrifying certainty. Liam slips straight into the restaurant's kitchen, startling the staff and waving off a panicked maid who thinks she's being summoned. He ignores the awkwardness and demands hot water and a porcelain bowl, his noodle invention already moving into frantic production. He drops a block of dry noodles into the bowl and pours boiling water straight over it, ignoring the maid's utter confusion. Steam billows as the noodles soften, and when he hands it to her to taste, her eyes light up at the burning hot, delicious flavor. The kitchen test is a massive success, but Liam knows the city's noodle stalls only exist because raw noodles spoil too fast to preserve. He uses the water spirit Undine to strip the moisture from raw noodles soaked in thick broth, creating a preserved product that already carries the soup flavor inside. The chef is absolutely stunned that dried, preserved noodles can taste this good with just a splash of hot water. Liam grins and dubs his invention Instant Noodles, riding a massive high from successfully creating and selling his own revolutionary product. But the instant noodle plan slams into a brick wall at the Noodles Guild when the master flatly refuses to do business with him. The guild backed out the second they learned he's the Hamilton family's 5th son, trapping him in a cage of noble rules that forbid non-successors from trading freely. Liam quickly realizes the refusal only blocks him from trading inside Hamilton territory, forcing him to choose between waiting to become an adult or moving his business outside the family lands. Waiting defeats the entire point of gaining independence, so his frustration hardens into a ruthless resolve to sell his noodles no matter how far he has to travel. Liam summons his item box to stash a massive stockpile of charcoal and noodles, but his triumph dies when he dismisses and resummons it to find the inventory completely empty. He realizes he can't just use the spell as a temporary pocket, he has to master the magic to keep his goods from vanishing into thin air. A month of brutal routine passes as Liam drills the item box spell alongside his daily noodle and charcoal production, finally managing to keep the stored items intact after dismissing the magic. With his products ready and a way to carry them secured, he turns his attention to the final hurdle, transportation. The item box solves his cargo problem, but to cut the travel time in half, he needs to exploit the 2 different types of summoning magic. He locks onto a specific spell from his Magicpedia, looking for a way to bend the rigid rules of contract summoning to his advantage. Liam turns the contract summoning spell into a dangerous loophole by binding the contract to himself instead of a weaker creature. His eyes blaze with realization as he casts Contract Summon. Liam, successfully using the magic to teleport his own physical body. The teleportation works but immediately creates a nightmare problem when a perfect copy of Liam materializes right in front of him. The 2 boys stare at each other in absolute panic, arguing over who is the real Liam and who is the summoned illusion. Liam hands the sales job to his summoned double and waits 3 days, only to lose his mind with joy when the inventory updates with 36 silver coins. The noodles sold perfectly, and he dismisses the copy with a satisfied unbind command, his independent fortune finally growing. Liam rides a massive victory high, after his double turns a 6-day trip into a 3-day success. But back at the estate, the mood is anything but celebratory. Count Hamilton sits alone in the shadows, watching his son's sudden independence with cold suspicion and deciding to nip the threat in the bud. Liam is caught completely off guard in the woods when his eldest brother, Albelvito, steps out of the trees with a knowing, predatory smile. The heir to the Hamilton family immediately starts needling Liam about the wild rumors of his magic, making it clear he already suspects something is going on. Albelvito presses the warning home and demands to know what Liam actually plans to do with his life, forcing the younger boy to sweat under the eldest son's piercing gaze. Liam forces a bright, harmless answer about living off his own skills, which surprisingly makes Albelvito's eyes light up and offer him an introduction to the Hunters Guild. The Hunters Guild is a rough, dangerous gathering place, and the moment Liam steps inside, every adult scoffs at him as a lost errand boy. He pushes through the hostility to the guild master, who recognizes him but coldly demands a practical test, refusing to send a child to his death on a high-rank job. The guild master asks for Liam's magical specialty, only to realize with sheer annoyance that the boy doesn't even know how to chant. He snaps at Liam to just shoot off whatever combat magic he knows, and freezes in absolute breathless shock when a terrifying barrage of unchanted blasts punches clean, smoking holes straight through the guild's solid stone wall. A single kiss just turned his reckless hunting partner into an immortal familiar, but it's the first princess waiting in the shadows who wants to make him her personal weapon. To understand how Liam Hamilton ended up on the royal radar, we have to go back to the moment his B-rank license barely stayed in his hand. A pink-haired blur named Asuna barrels into him, demanding to know if he's really a Hamilton. Before he can even process the impact, she's dragging him into a hunting party. He's stunned by her sheer physical force, but completely captivated. She's exactly his type, and she's about to drag him straight into the guild's crosshairs. Liam shakes her hand and agrees on the spot, making Asuna beam with absolute triumph. There's just one massive problem: they don't actually have a hunt request yet. Asuna cheerfully explains the guild's brutal hierarchy, where A-rank elites slaughter the nightmares, while B-ranks scrape by on posted bounties for stray beasts. She admits she only just learned this herself, which means their grand partnership is currently running on pure, unfiltered delusion. Their first target is the West Road, supposedly cleared for VIP caravages, but the real job is exterminating a pack of stray wolf dogs. Asuna readies her blade for close combat and casually asks what kind of magic Liam uses. When he drops that he knows about 100 different types, Asuna's brain completely short-circuits. She doesn't get the chance to process it because the pack bursts from the tree line, teeth bared and starving. The wolf dogs pour out, boxing them in on both sides with snapping jaws. Liam doesn't even flinch. He just asks if Asuna can handle the finishing blows, throws out his hand, and summons 5 tiny mushroom-hatted gnomes. The little creatures charge straight into the pack, slamming into the nearest beast hard enough to stagger it, leaving the rest of the wolves completely bewildered. Asuna cuts through the ambush with a dangerous grin, laughing that the beasts aren't half bad and telling Liam to leave the rest to her. She turns the forest into a slaughterhouse. Back at the guild, the staff can only stare in dead silence at the mountain of 42 carcasses they drag through the doors. The guildmaster is so utterly stunned by the haul that he immediately bypasses the bounty board and offers them a direct, high-tier request. Asuna is thrilled, knowing the guild rarely gives direct offers unless a hunter proves they're an absolute monster. But the new target is a nightmare, a gigantic carnivorous caterpillar on the West Highway carrying a magic crystal that multiplies its danger tenfold. Asuna loses a fraction of her confidence reading the file, but she quickly snaps back into gear, determined to clean up the mess. She calls it a challenge. The monster is about to call it a fatal mistake. The fight turns into an absolute disaster. Asuna is left battered against the caterpillar's horrifyingly tough shell, and every spell Liam throws at it bounces off without leaving a scratch. Frustrated, Liam mutters that a meteor would be the only easy answer, then suddenly remembers he actually has 100 spell types at his disposal. He snaps his fingers, declaring a new strategy that leaves Asuna staring in pure, unadulterated confusion. Asuna plays bait, cheerfully taunting the monster from a high vantage point until it turns on her in a blind fury. That's when Liam shouts for his item box. A massive boulder drops out of thin air and crushes the caterpillar with a brutal, earth-shaking impact, flattening it into the dirt and leaving Asuna completely speechless in the dust cloud. Back in town, the guild erupts when they realize Liam and Asuna didn't just kill one, they wiped out 2 of the monsters. Liam casually explains that his enemy search picked up both targets, treating the impossible feat like standard procedure. The guild master is so relieved that the VIP route is permanently secure, he bumps their payout to 5 times the normal reward. A few days later, the VIPs arrive, and Liam's guild success earns him a front-row seat for the greeting. His older brother Albelito steps in, perfectly satisfied that his recommendation paid off, and tells Liam to keep striving. Liam stiffens, recognizing the deliberate power play, while Asuna leans in to mutter that his brother seems incredibly yucky. She's not wrong, but the family politics are about to get a lot uglier. With Charles and Albelito acting as hosts, Liam immediately clocks the ugly family math at play. Then a dignified man steps down from the carriage, and Asuna instantly sparkles, dreaming of climbing the social ladder. Liam doesn't share her excitement. He goes completely stiff and sweaty, staring at the newcomer in sheer dread, wondering if the man is watching him. Stuck in a formal meeting room, Liam is sweating through his panic until a severe older man introduces himself as James Stanley. Liam awkwardly gives his name and status as Charles's fifth son, but the moment James spots the ring on Liam's finger, his attitude turns vicious. He grabs Liam's wrist, demanding to know his connection to Raymond because that ring belongs to his dead friend. James's suspicion turns ugly in an instant, accusing Liam of murdering Raymond to steal the ring. Liam snaps back that he didn't steal it. He received it from his master. James suddenly bursts into laughter, recognizing his old friend's reckless style, and immediately puts Liam to the test. He orders his attendant aside, points at the man, and commands Liam to fire his best combat magic. The attendant braces himself for the impact. Liam's thoughts snap into sharp focus. He knows that chanting the names of his beloved divas, Amelia, Emilia, and Claudia, can temporarily push his spells far past their normal limits. It's a risky gamble, but he needs raw power right now. His ring flares to life, and the chant tears the cap right off his magic missile, expanding the barrage from 7 shots to 11. Simon takes the full, brutal impact, his magical guards splintering under the relentless hammering of pure, unchainted force. James laughs, thrilled by the rapid-fire display, taking it as perfect proof that Liam is preparing for independence. Without missing a beat, James grants him the rank of knight. By the next day, the official commanders arrive to formalize the title. Liam is still living at the estate, but in reality, he's just been completely cut loose from his family's financial dependence. The sword comes down, officially making Liam a knight, but James quickly lays out the political reality. Keeping Albovito from seeing him as a threat is a massive win, and if Liam serves under his father, his achievements will still count for the Hamilton name. Liam quietly accepts the terms, but James's smile turns sharp as he asks if Liam ever considered that Raymond might have tricked him. Liam's mind flashes back to his brutal training by the lake, forcing his item box to swallow the water whole. When he finally opened the inventory, he found a letter, purified water, and exactly 100 kilograms of gold dust. The letter explains that solid gold bars wouldn't fit in the box, so his master scattered it as dust instead. But the postscript twists the gift into a final exam. He needs to figure out why it's exactly 100 kilos. The graduation exam suddenly snaps into place. The gold was measured so perfectly because Raymond pulled it straight from his own item box. The wealth was just a distraction. The real graduation present was hidden in the lake all along, and the training was specifically designed to keep Liam from noticing it until he was ready. Remembering the lesson, Liam hurls his item box into the water and screams for it to swallow every last drop. The box obeys, dragging the lake down into a roaring vortex until the muddy bed is completely exposed. Sweating and stunned, Liam stands over the drained basin, realizing his master's true gift is buried right beneath his feet. Standing in the mud, Liam rereads the letter, hunting for the final clue. The trick clicks, heavy gold bars would sink, but dust scatters in the water. The entire exercise wasn't a reward at all. It was a brutal, calculated final exam to force him to completely master the mechanics of his item box. Instead of just dumping the water and fish, Liam forces the box to spit out only the gold dust. A glittering stream pours out, leaving exactly 100 kilograms piled on the dry earth. But the real payoff is waiting beneath that pile. As the gold settles, a massive, humming magic circle erupts right underneath it. The magic circle reveals a hidden staircase descending into the earth. Liam follows it down into a sealed stone room where a grimoire and a final letter wait for him. The letter confirms that by solving the puzzle, Liam has completely mastered the rare Magicpedia spell. And now, Raymond's greatest grimoire filled with superior magic is finally his. Liam opens the grimoire to a spell called Another World. Raymond's note admits he couldn't use it himself, leaving the challenge entirely to his pupil. Hours pass as Liam drills the procedures, failing to activate it even once, but his resolve doesn't crack. Gripping the book, he promises himself he'll master it step by step. Finally, the grimoire answers. A door materializes, opening into a completely white, empty room. Another World isn't just storage. It creates a private, inviolable dimension sized by the user's magic power, and unlike Item Box, people can actually step inside. Liam practically explodes with excitement, already picturing his own secret base. A month later, Liam has drilled the spell down to a 10-minute cast time, much to Asuna's exhaustion. The guild rewards their progress with an A-rank hunt, a giant frog. Staring down the massive beast with his new grimoire in hand, Liam wonders if this is the true test of a knight. Liam drives his chant deep, calling down the fire spirit, Salamander. Flaming salamanders rain toward the frog, but the monster just opens its massive mouth and swallows the flames whole. Seeing the problem instantly, Asuna shouts that fire is useless and pivots to a new plan. She'll pierce its hide with her spears, leaving the exact same spot open for Liam to strike. Liam's chant locks in, switching to ice. Asuna surges forward with a battle cry, giving him the perfect opening. 7 ice needles tear through the air and bury themselves deep in the giant frog's face. Liam shouts for her to fall back, and she barely clears the blast radius as the A-rank monster reels in agony. The enraged frog closes in for a brutal counterattack, but Liam's stare hardens. He's been channeling the grimoire this entire time. He throws open the door to another world and yanks Asuna through just as the monster lunges. The doorway's backlash catches the beast, and they land safely in the white room, completely out of reach of its electrical assault. When they step back out, the giant frog is already slumped dead, finished off by the spatial backlash before they even had to strike. At the guild, the official examines the magic stone in pure disbelief. The hunt was supposed to take a week, but they finished it in an afternoon. The older man looks at Liam with deep gratitude, realizing exactly what kind of power the boy holds. The official awkwardly tacks Asuna's name onto his praise, then drops a wild suggestion. If she wants to keep standing beside Liam, she should become his familiar. The joke cuts deeper than he realizes. Liam is surging ahead at a terrifying pace, and Asuna knows the bitter truth. If she doesn't get stronger fast, she'll be left behind. Liam explains that familiar contracts aren't just for monsters, and the guildmaster confirms the mechanics. Once bound, the familiar gains power directly tied to the master's strength. Asuna's eyes flare at the realization. For the first time, she sees a real path to keeping up with the boy she admires. Asuna asks him outright, stepping into his personal space. Liam goes bright red, acutely aware that a contract means she wouldn't be able to refuse his orders. But Asuna just smiles, telling him she trusts him completely and wouldn't even mind if he tried anything weird. Flustered and completely outmatched by her boldness, Liam quietly gives in. Because the contract requires a third-party witness, the guildmaster steps in to oversee the ritual. He instructs Asuna to take Liam's hand and kiss it. She drops to one knee, face burning, and presses her lips to his skin. Liam is sweating through the entire ordeal, his mind screaming that this feels way too much like a wedding ceremony. Liam freezes, barely managing to breathe her name. Looking down at her flushed cheeks and shining eyes, a sudden terrifying thought slams into him. Asuna is beautiful. The familiar contract suddenly feels a lot more dangerous than just a simple power-up. The instant the contract settles, Asuna vanishes from in front of him. Liam's blood runs cold until her voice teases him from right behind his shoulder. The guild crowd erupts as she reveals she's awakened a unique skill called Speedstar. Liam's shock melts into a proud grin. The contract didn't just make her stronger, it evolved her. Glowing with new confidence, Asuna flirts with Liam, bragging that she's already gotten 3 love letters since the contract. Liam stammers, completely thrown off by how pretty she's become. He tries to explain it away as her body adjusting to peak condition for her new skill, but Asuna just smiles and asks if she's turned pretty. Wanting to fully understand the contract's limits, Liam needs another volunteer. Asuna drags him to Jody, a veteran hunter who took her in when she ran away. Asuna already made the mistake of telling her about the ritual. Jody instantly clocks Asuna's sudden glow-up and starts mercilessly teasing her, leaving the girl bright red and begging her to stop. Asuna lunges, demanding Jody try the contract too. Jody laughs it off until the magic hits. When she steps out of the light, she looks decades younger, staring at her hands in shock. The guild watches in stunned silence as Jody realizes she's attained a unique skill of her own, smiling mysteriously as she goes to check exactly what it is. A young girl brings a tray of sandwiches to an injured man, insisting he eat despite his protests. The moment he takes a bite, his body jolts like he's been struck by lightning. His arm sling drops away as he flexes his fully healed muscles, and the crowd erupts as the girl realizes her cooking can cure injuries. Jody's healing skill turns into a public miracle, and the rumors explode across town. But the older man quickly drops a much heavier bomb. The first princess, Scarlet Cherry Jamil, is coming to meet Liam. She's heard about his A-rank hunts, his simultaneous magic, and his ability to evolve familiars, finding his talents very interesting. Liam's teacup tips over as he screams in panic. The official makes it clear that Her Highness wants a personal demonstration of his familiar contract. Liam stiffens, his voice steady as he asks if he can refuse. When the man asks why, Liam's answer is fierce and immediate. They are his friends, not a parlor trick for royalty. Liam holds his ground, knowing that forcing a familiar to perform strips them of their free will. The official tries to pressure him with the weight of the imperial title, but Liam refuses to budge. Defeated, the man tells him to leave. But the moment Princess Scarlet steps into the room, the official drops into a desperate, shaking bow, apologizing for his failure. Scarlet steps forward, calmly dressed in a maid costume, and tells the trembling official that it's fine. She chose the outfit herself. She smiles, calling Liam an interesting boy, but a dangerous edge slips into her voice. She wonders if he'll still have the courage to defy her now that she's standing right in front of him. Scarlett studies Liam's file, turning to James for his assessment. James confirms that while simultaneous magic is rare, the ability to evolve familiars is a talent that only appears once every few centuries. Scarlett's decision is instant. She orders his summons for 3 days from now, deciding this boy is dangerous enough for the first princess to handle personally. Liam arrives at the ornate royal gates, stepping out of his carriage with bright, excited eyes. A wall of armored guards stands shoulder to shoulder, swords raised in perfect silence. Instead of shrinking back from the intimidation, Liam looks completely fascinated by the display. But as he walks the path, the sheer weight of the royal guard hits him like a battlefield. His excitement freezes into a cold sweat as his father's warning echoes in his head. Any insolence will not be tolerated. The smile vanishes from his face. One wrong word in this palace could turn the entire empire against him. Scarlett stands before him, her posture sharp and commanding, turning the summons into what feels like a trial. But her royal mask slips the second their eyes meet. Her cheeks flush and her eyes widen in sudden fluster. Calling him here was her idea, but actually facing Liam has rattled her far more than she expected. She quickly recovers, pressing down on Liam with a suffocating force that makes him break into a cold sweat. The pressure is even more intense than his father's, barely letting him hold himself together. As her presence closes in on him like a verdict, Liam realizes exactly what true royal authority feels like. Liam forces a stiff, courtly bow, immediately worrying if he's doing it right. Scarlett tells him to rise, offers him a seat, and gets straight to the point. She's heard about his hunts, specifically the giant frog, and notes she's never heard of anyone killing one without upper-level attack magic. Liam's confidence takes a quiet hit, wishing she would just ask him something he actually knows how to answer. Scarlett's smile is a guillotine, and Liam just realized he's standing on the chopping block. She casually asks about upper-level magic, then pivots the blade straight at his familiar contracts, demanding he expose his friends. He sees the trap, but her smile sharpens, throwing his earlier refusal right back in his face and demanding an answer. Liam drops his head, but his answer doesn't bend. The royal guards around him hiss warnings, reminding him he's defying the first princess herself. The crushing weight of their hostility presses down on him, but every ounce of that royal pressure only hardens his resolve. He forces out an apology, but his stance remains iron. He won't let his friends be paraded around like circus animals. Instead of executing him, Scarlett bursts into laughter, genuinely amused that he hasn't shattered under her aura. She declares he's entertained her twice today, and now he deserves a reward. With a careless flick of her wrist, she grants him the title of Baron. Liam's mind completely blanks. This is the exact rank his father has been bleeding himself dry to achieve, handed over just for saying no. Then Scarlett drops a sickening jab about his father acting like a pimp to secure the meeting, and his blood runs cold. James steps forward and hands him a magical familiar contract grimoire, and Liam nearly melts with joy. He clutches the ancient book to his chest, completely ignoring the noble title to obsess over the magic, making Scarlett's eyes sharpen with predatory delight. She realizes just how dangerously interesting this boy really is. There's a catch. The grimoire only offers a provisional contract, forcing him to master the spell before it becomes permanent. Liam groans at the thought of more studying, but before he can complain, Brother Bruno tackles him in a massive hug from behind. Liam tries to play it cool, immediately bragging about his brand new noble status. Bruno's grin stretches ear to ear when he realizes Liam actually became a baron, laughing hysterically at the thought of Alba Levito's absolute fury. He explains that first-generation earned nobility cuts far sharper than their father's inherited third-generation rank, making Liam finally realize the terrifying weight of the crown Scarlett just tossed at him. Bruno slaps him a proud high five, telling him to surpass their shitty father, a goal Liam realizes he might have already achieved. But the victory lap ends the next morning when Liam offers a careful good morning to his father, only to receive a dark, ominous promise of punishment in return. Liam freezes in the hallway. The man waiting for him isn't his father, it's Brother Akbarvito, shaking under a black storm of pure disbelief. He always treated Liam like the invisible youngest sibling, and now his little brother is a baron. Liam's magic has rewritten the family hierarchy, and hearing the maids whisper praise for his power finally snaps Akbarvito's resentment in half. He corners the terrified girls, his jealousy boiling over as he demands to know who is truly superior, him, the Count's eldest son, or the newly minted baron. The maids crumble under his glare, desperately naming Akbarvito as the true heir to save their own skins. He clings to their fear, vowing to earn his own achievements, his jealousy hardening into a possessive, toxic vow that Hamilton's land and people will eventually be his alone. Miles away from the palace drama, Asuna and Jody sit at an outdoor cafe, looking so radiant that every man in town stops to stare. One creep grins that he wouldn't mind taking any of them home, while the girls just sip their drinks, completely oblivious to the predator circling their table. Jody asks Liam to look after them, formally calling him Master to honor their familiar contract. Liam flushes and tells her to just use his name, so she cheerfully switches to Liam-kun, making Asuna blush as she admits she totally understands why Jody used the title in the first place. Jody admits she's only gotten prettier because she relies on Asuna so much, joking that the younger girl should actually be the master. Asuna is thrilled at the thought of spending even more time together, and when Liam suggests they form an official party, both girls agree instantly. They stack their hands in the center of the table, sealing the new party with a promise. Liam immediately grabs a wild dog subjugation job, practically vibrating with excitement for their first hunt, while Asuna grips her weapon to keep them grounded, reminding them to just stick to what they can handle. Out in the field, Jody's arrows punch cleanly into a charging wild dog, pinning it just long enough. Asuna darts in, her blade flashing in a brutal, perfect arc that tears through the beast's neck, leaving Liam completely stunned by how sharply her combat skills have evolved. Asuna's eyesight has sharpened to a razor's edge, and Jody reminds her that for an archer, those eyes are their absolute lifeline. Liam tests her vision range, then casts Build Up directly on her eyes, making the entire force flare into hyper-focused brightness. Asuna squeals, suddenly spotting rabbits miles away in the tall grass, but her excitement turns lethal when she swings at a wild dog. Her blade slices straight through the monster's neck like butter, leaving a severed head dangling, and Liam freezes in absolute horror because he only boosted her eyesight. Asuna immediately begs for the same physical boost, but Liam shuts it down hard, amplifying a close combat fighter's power without reinforcing their bones would make them shatter their own arms on impact. Asuna agrees that sounds like a terrible way to die, then instantly spots a brand new target. She whips her axe in a massive arc, sending it flying 100 meters to punch straight through a beast's face, dropping it dead before it even registers the attack. She beams at Liam, thanking him for the power, and he can only laugh at the sheer absurdity of her strength. The triumphant hunt shatters the moment they reach the trading post, finding the place in absolute chaos. Staff scream for manpower as Liam and Asuna stare at the wreckage, realizing the destruction was caused by Hamilton's eldest son removing a seal, and Akbravito's dark promise echoes in Liam's mind. Guilt tears through Liam like a physical blow. He chokes out that it's his fault and sprints into the tree line, only to find the woods transform into a nightmare of bloodied men and panicked survivors. Armored men sprint blindly through the trees, dragging bleeding comrades away from the crushed wreckage while the ground is littered with the dying. Liam freezes, the full, horrifying scale of the disaster crashing over him all at once. A bloodied, half-collapsed figure reaches out from the dirt, screaming for his brother, and Liam's heart drops when he realizes it's Akbravito. Dragging himself up by pure spite, Akbravito grabs Liam by the collar, choking out that he refuses to die here before lashing out in a desperate swing. Akbravito's wild swing goes nowhere as Count Hamilton steps in, ordering his broken son to be dragged back to town. The Count turns to Liam with a grim, deathly serious look, while Asuna grabs Liam's arm, demanding to know what the hell is happening. Count Hamilton drops the truth like a death sentence. A demon dragon named Ladon is sealed in this forest, and the seal has just been broken. Asuna's face drains of all color, and Liam remembers Bruno's warnings as the horrifying reality clicks into place. Hamilton snaps that they already know how to seal the beast back in, pointing to a line of hooded casters clutching heavy grimoires. He warns that they absolutely must not be interrupted, and Liam's face tightens at the sheer impossibility of keeping the forest quiet. The monsters behind the massacre are Ladon Juniors, children of the demon dragon that tore through the camp despite not even being fully grown. Hamilton warns that the true beast will take a week to regain its full power, meaning they have exactly 7 days to reseal it. Jody recognizes the silhouette instantly, a Ladon Jr., and even one of them is a death sentence. The forest explodes into absolute panic as hunters sprint away screaming, right before a junior roars, its jaws splitting wide as it crashes forward in a bloody blur. A bloodied hunter screams to run as a junior bares its fangs right behind him, but the true nightmare rises through the canopy. Ladon itself, enormous and half-sealed, watches over its young, and 3 juniors creep forward from the brush, turning the escape into a total slaughter. The juniors are only medium-sized, but they tear through armored men like paper. Asuna doesn't flinch, she grits her teeth, charges straight at the nearest beast, and yells for it to bring it on, making Liam scream for her to watch out. Asuna's charge is ripped apart in an instant as a concussive blast throws her off balance. Jody fires a massive wall of raging fire into the forest to cover her, but Asuna can only panic as the roaring blaze surges right toward her own position. Liam fires 7 magic bullets and the spells tear forward in a blinding flash. The shots vanish into the smoke. One junior screams under the impact, but the other just bares its teeth as Liam realizes his attacks are just disappearing. 3 juniors close in, growling low through the tall grass while Liam spreads his arms to shield the girls. Asuna's voice breaks. Knowing it's pointless, Liam is trapped with no plan and no way to stop 3 of them at once. Liam screams for Asuna to grab Jody and run, and she detonates forward with star speed, moving too fast for the juniors to track. With the girls clear, Liam summons his item box, desperate to take down all 3 beasts in one massive gambit. Nearby, a hired caster screams for Amelia, Emily, and Claudia to run as a fanged monster lunges straight for his throat. He shoves his spellbook forward in a desperate, futile attempt to hold the beast off and protect the resealing ritual. A junior's claws slash toward Liam's face, but he throws himself backward, snatching the grimoire and screaming, "Release!" The book tears open in his hands, and its hidden magic violently erupts, ripping a hole straight into another world. Liam drops to his knees, breath ripping out of his lungs as he gasps, asking if it actually worked. Count Hamilton stares in absolute shock as all the juniors simply vanish, immediately screaming at the casters to seal the dragon while the rift is still open. Liam's victory wasn't a calculated strike, it was a desperate, terrifying accident. He hasn't mastered another world, only activating it at the exact microsecond he finished the chant, meaning the spell worked precisely because he isn't skilled enough to control its output. Count Hamilton is still reeling, asking if Liam actually defeated them, and Liam explains he turned the spell's unstable effect to their advantage. Because he couldn't control the rift, everything inside it simply ceased to exist, erasing the trapped juniors from reality forever. One of the casters stares up at the colossal dragon looming over the trees, whispering in awe. Asuna and Jody rush back, alive but shaking, and Asuna demands to know what magic that was, forcing Liam to admit it's Underworld, a spell that tears a rift between space and time. Asuna asks if he trapped the monsters in that void, and Liam admits that since he hasn't mastered the spell, reopening the rift will just erase everything inside it. They start to praise his quick thinking, but a deep, unnatural voice suddenly whispers to them from the dark space. The hooded casters jerk in alarm as the colossal demon dragon looms over Liam, its massive ancient eyes locking onto him through the dark rift. It speaks directly to the human with the large soul, and Liam's blood runs completely cold. Liam tries to address the monster, but the dragon doesn't care about human names, turning the question back on him by noting that his soul and body don't match. Liam goes dead still, realizing the beast can actually sense his reincarnation. The dragon admits it can't explain the mismatch, but it senses the split clearly, and instead of attacking, it finds Liam's fractured life deeply interesting. It makes an impossible offer. It wants Liam to take it with him, offering unimaginable power in return. Liam's fear hardens into pure resolve, and he accepts the pact. The dragon senses no hostility, noting that Liam reminds it of its ancient master, and Liam reaches his hand toward the colossal creature, about to make humanity's greatest enemy his ally. But the dragon's promise turns vicious in an instant, declaring it will be borrowing Liam's large soul for a short time. A blinding light tears directly from Liam's chest as he realizes the monster was never just asking for a ride. The light vanishes, leaving a dark, dragon-shaped mark burning across the back of Liam's hand like a brand. Asuna screams in disbelief while Count Hamilton blurts out the impossible truth: Liam just absorbed the demon dragon. The mark burns white-hot, and a massive surge of ancient power floods Liam's veins, mixing violently with his blood. He raises his marked hand and casts Magic Missile, watching in shock as the spell erupts into a massive, devastating fan of projectiles. Liam throws the spell, and 11 missiles rip from his hand without a single chant, forcing him to stare at his own magic in pure disbelief. But before the shock can even settle, one of the hooded casters drops to his knees, groaning in sudden, agonizing pain. The dragon mark sears into Liam's flesh, violently ripping his magic aura back into his body. Ladon's ancient power is tearing him apart from the inside out, while Asuna and Jody stand untouched, their familiar contracts shielding them from the blast. Count Hamilton offers his gratitude for ending the demon dragon, but Liam cuts him off, dropping 10 kilograms of raw gold powder onto the table to pay for the collateral damage. Hamilton stares at the wealth, sickened by the realization that this boy would have made a far better heir than Albelafito. Hamilton admits the crisis would have been catastrophic without him, thanking Liam for cleaning up his brother's mess. Albelvito is under house arrest, but the real punishment depends on the fallout. And then Hamilton drops the catch: the capital is sending an envoy to reward him. Liam goes dead still. A royal reward is the absolute last thing he needs. The guildmaster's warning claws at his mind. Albelito might lose his right to inherit. For the eldest son of a noble house, that's a death sentence. Guilt drags Liam down the hallway, stopping him paralyzed outside his brother's door, completely unsure of what he's supposed to say. Inside, Albulvito thrashes in his sheets, choking on the shame that a child beat the demon dragon instead of him. He was supposed to be the one protecting the family. Outside, Liam realizes the bitter truth. For all his arrogance, his brother just wanted to save their house. Liam recognizes that same stubborn, bottled-up frustration from his past life. He steels himself to beg his father for leniency, but the hallway suddenly dissolves into a blinding white void. He snaps to a halt, panic spiking as he realizes he's trapped inside a dream. The void forces him into a vision of himself casting raw, instinctual magic without a single grimoire. The dragon crest flares across his hand, burning with an entirely new power. He jolts awake in his bed, gasping for air as the exact same mark sears into his palm. Liam bolts into the forest, the crest still burning as excitement drowns out his fear. Ladon's power has unlocked 2 brand new spells. He tests the first one, feeling a resistance heavier than anything he's ever faced, but he just clenches his fist and smiles. The spell spits out a tiny, lower-level dragon that chirps proudly and rubs against his leg. Liam's nerves melt as he scoops up the impossibly cute creature. Sacred magic didn't just give him a spell, it handed him a divine dragon. He nearly drops the baby dragon when Princess Scarlet steps out of the trees, staring at him in pure disbelief. Flustered, Liam asks what she's doing here, only for her to smirk and call him Lord Hamilton. The title hits him like a physical blow. He's suddenly on the exact same rank as his own father. The princess cuts straight to the politics. The elders refuse to give a landless boy a high title, so she's forcing a third-class Phoenix medal on him. He has to accept it, because the terrified kingdom needs an official hero to keep the peace. Liam understands the game perfectly. The villagers only believed the monsters were dead when a famous name took the credit. She demands the exact details, already planning how to spin the disaster into a heroic legend. But the moment Liam admits he absorbed Ladon, her expression shatters. To her, it sounds like impossible nonsense, and Liam realizes with a cold spike of dread that the truth is about to warp into a massive misunderstanding. The princess orders him to seal his lips about the sacred magic, her tone leaving zero room for argument. The next day, she sends him 3,000 coins, a chest of gold that looks less like a reward and more like hush money. At the Hamilton mansion, she corners him with the real question, can he actually use it? Liam sweats through the princess's brutal warning to keep his mouth shut. Count Hamilton reads the room instantly. Sending that much hush money so quickly proves she doesn't fully trust Liam to stay silent. The danger is massive. If this feat deserves a noble title, the king himself should be the one handing it out. Hamilton corners him with the rumor that the dragon literally entered his body, forcing Liam to confess the sacred magic. Lying to the princess would be suicide, so when she demands a demonstration, he has no choice. The dragon crest ignites across his hand as he calls his familiars to brace for the surge. Liam throws his hand forward, unleashing a blinding wave of beginner's sacred magic, all clear. The old man freezes, whispering in awe as Liam explains it wipes out every status abnormality in existence. When the old man mutters that sacred magic is a creation of God, Liam immediately asks if he knows about the Third Dragon War. Hamilton lays out the ancient legend. 3 catastrophic dragons once warred, and the victor used the god's sacred magic to win. That dragon grew close to a human, and through their bond, humanity learned the magic and founded their very nation. Hamilton twists the legend into a trap, pointing out that ancient texts claim the human and dragon became partners and bore a child. He grabs Liam's hand, staring at the burning crest, and demands the terrifying truth. Did Liam fuse with the beast? Liam freezes, caught completely off guard by how close the accusation is. The horrifying truth clicks into place. Ladon didn't just enter his body, they fused, which is why the sacred magic is flowing. Hamilton drops the heavier reality. By unifying with the beast, Liam is now carrying the very ancestor who founded their country. Hamilton warns that his father is going to be the first of 2 massive problems coming his way. Hamilton drives the nightmare home. If Ladon wakes up furious after being falsely imprisoned, he could wipe out the entire kingdom in revenge. Liam runs through his family, the obsessed father, the hostile brother, the one who walked away, and tells himself he has no reason to save them. But the logic shatters and he lowers his head, admitting he's terrified for them. Liam presses his glowing crest to his face, reaching inward to ask the dragon what he truly feels. The answer hits him like a physical curse, flooding his mind with white-hot, merciless rage. The Hamiltons are filth. Liam realizes Ladon isn't even angry about his imprisonment. The dragon just views human names as fleeting noise and is genuinely fascinated by Liam's life. Hamilton's face twists in shock as the reality sets in. Liam didn't just get lucky, he is the undisputed savior of the entire country. Walking through town, Liam focuses on the burning crest, realizing he needs to cut down his activation time by practicing while moving. His thoughts are interrupted when a nearby door creaks open and two girls drag him out into the street, calling his name. They yank him down the street to escape the massive crowd gathering behind them, leaving Liam sputtering in confusion. Once they stop, the girls drop the bomb. They're party applicants who heard he killed the dragon and want to join his team. They hand him a massive list of everyone waiting outside, explaining their party needs one more member and they're leaving the choice to their leader. Liam takes the paper, completely blindsided by the sheer volume of names. He mutters that this is the first time he's ever been this popular, but a panicked maid rushes out before he can even breathe. She points to a literal mountain of delivery scrolls, explaining every single one is a high-ranking request to meet him. The pile gets worse when Bruno walks in with even more paperwork, delivering orders from the higher-ups tied to their family name. Liam snaps that he only killed a dragon, but Bruno cuts him off. The people demanding meetings are all high-ranking nobles who have noticed something far bigger. Hamilton's warning echoes in his head. The princess's clumsy hush-money bribe just signaled to every noble in the capital that she doesn't trust him. Liam stares at the mountain of requests from men and women alike, while Bruno grins, highly amused by his brother's first real taste of political fame. Deep in the woods, a strange doorway pulses with energy as a boy grins and drops the hook. Another world. He invites the two girls to step inside first, and after a brief hesitation, one of them agrees. The portal spits them out directly in front of a fully built house, making the girls lose their minds in stunned disbelief. They stare at the structure, completely unable to process that a magical gateway led to real estate. The empty void from their last visit is completely gone, replaced by a stunning, fully furnished home. Liam grins like a kid showing off his favorite secret, admitting he's been waiting to build a house inside this dimension since the day he discovered it. Liam explains his bold plan: have carpenters build the foundation in the real world, then use his item box to transport the entire structure into the dimension. As soon as awe quickly sours into panic, terrified the house might just vanish like the baby dragon did. Liam shuts down her fear with a massive grin, revealing he's already mastered the dimension's stability. He's tested the entrance from multiple locations, proving he's built a permanent, accessible sanctuary that will never disappear. Jody-san begs to see the inside, and Liam happily leads them through a cozy, fully furnished home, complete with a kitchen and soft beds. Asuna is thrilled at the thought of never camping again, while Jody immediately faceplants into a mattress, declaring it the softest thing she's ever felt. Asuna suddenly goes quiet, realizing the dimension has no sun or moon, locking them in an endless, unchanging glare. Liam quickly summons a lower-level darkness spirit to plunge the room into pitch black, but the girls instantly panic that it's way too dark to sleep. Liam summons a fire spirit to light the fireplace, turning the oppressive blackness into a warm, crackling comfort. When Jody asks for something softer, like a moonlit night, Liam commands the darkness spirit to dim, proving it can take fine-tuned orders. Liam formalizes the contract, and the tiny spirit instantly swells into a massive, winged orb of darkness. The newly evolved shade bows, declaring absolute devotion to its master, which immediately sends Liam into a flustered panic. Liam panics that he doesn't have the medium-level summoning rank to call it, but Shade reveals his ancient ring can store the spell for him. Liam's eyes light up, and he immediately orders the spirit to begin the transfer as arcane script spirals around them. Liam pushes the same contract magic through the rest of the low-level spirits, evolving every single one of them. The fire spirit swells into a horned beast named Ifrit, and soon all their medium-level summoning spells are safely stored inside his Magipedia ring. The next day, Liam returns to the center of the forest where Ladon used to sleep, trying to pinpoint the exact spot. A dark, invisible presence immediately greets him as the human with a big soul, prompting Liam to beg the ancient dragon to stop using that embarrassing title. Ladon laughs, genuinely impressed that Liam managed to evolve a spirit. Before dropping the real reason he called him here, he has a request. Instead of hesitating, Liam raises his hand and tests his new magic, summoning the tiny baby dragon in a rush of light. The summoning drops him into a flower field swarming with tiny fairies, who immediately lose their minds at the sight of a human. Liam throws his hands up, shouting that Ladon sent him, but the fairies just scream and scatter in pure terror. Liam holds up the baby dragon, instantly flipping their terror into stunned recognition of a divine dragon. He explains that Ladon sent him to protect them from hunters who slaughter fairies for their magical feathers, but the dragon's voice echoes in his head, advising him to name them all at once. Liam's ring flares with contract magic as he targets a trembling fairy and gives her a name, Reyna. The magic surges, violently transforming the tiny creature into a tall, armored winged being who stares at her new body in pure shock. Rihanna gasps, staring at her long ears and armored limbs, realizing she's been reborn as an elf. Ladon's voice rumbles in approval. By combining the attributes of a name with contract magic, Liam has triggered an extraordinary evolution. Layden drops a brutal warning. From now on, every nameless being Liam contracts with must be named, and every single name will drain his magic. The remaining fairies realize what's happening and immediately swarm him, begging the messenger of the divine dragon to transform them too. The rescue devolves into a frantic naming session as Liam burns through his magic to turn the swarm into elves. He sweats profusely, realizing his imagination is running out of names long before his magic does, while the newly transformed elves cheer for their messenger Sama. Rihanna beams in her new body, asking Liam to teach them how to use their granted powers. Flustered, Liam admits he just needs them to build a village, and immediately appoints Rina as the village chief to keep the cheering elves from descending into chaos. Rihanna glows with pride, promising to build a village worthy of their savior, while Liam slumps to the ground, completely drained from the massive magic expenditure. His exhaustion is suddenly cut short when he senses a massive pulse of magical power radiating from the center of the forest. The pulsing magic leads him to a tree bearing a single, glowing fruit that the pixies use to bundle together like honey. Ladon tells him to eat it, and before Liam can even process the offer, he snatches the magic honey fruit and bites down hard. A single bite of magic honey fruit nearly tears Liam's mortal body apart, flooding his veins with enough raw power to fire 19 magic missiles in a single breath. While his newly transformed elves work themselves to the bone-hauling timber for a house, Liam sits in stunned silence. He tells Reyna to just call him Liam, but she instantly corrects him. From now on, it's Liam Sama. Reyna proudly announces, "The house is finished," pointing to a wobbly, leaf-covered frame that looks like a strong breeze would shatter it. She crumbles into an apologetic mess, admitting none of them actually know how to build. Liam waves off her apologies, realizing he's the idiot who asked pixies to do a carpenter's job. Reyna's scream rips through the forest as three men grab her, laughing like they just struck gold. They drool over the prize, calculating that selling a single elf could feed 100 people. Liam freezes in horror as the exact danger Ladon warned him about finds the village before it's even safe. Rihanna cries out for Liam Sama as one of the men leers over her, demanding a taste before selling her off. Liam's voice cuts in, cold and sharp, ordering them to get their dirty hands off her. The men just sneer, mocking him as a clueless kid who doesn't understand the adult world, but Liam only smiles at Rihanna and promises to save her right away. Liam doesn't wait for the threat to finish. His hand snaps forward, and a magic missile smashes straight into the man's face, hurling him backward into the dirt. The other men's greed instantly curdles into rage as they realize the kid isn't playing. Liam turns the rescue into a nightmare. His ring flashes, and a second Liam tears into existence beside him, firing another magic missile before the men can even process the duplication. The raiders' faces twist in absolute horror as the helpless child they mocked suddenly becomes impossible to read. The second Liam's magic missiles don't give the raiders a single breath to recover. A brutal barrage hammers into them, blasting the men backward with their faces twisted in panic. Within seconds, all three attackers are sprawled on the forest floor, groaning and completely beaten. Another elf clutches a sobbing Susie, shaking from the attack and admitting she was terrified. Liam's relief vanishes fast as he realizes leaving a defenseless group of newly transformed elves in the open forest is a death sentence. Gathering the frightened elves behind him, he resolves to find them a truly safe place to live. Liam searches for an answer, desperate to find somewhere the elves won't be hunted. He has a house inside another world, but it isn't big enough for all of them. But then, a desperate realization clicks in his mind. Liam realizes the pixie honey must have expanded his hidden place, making it big enough for everyone. He turns to the shaken elves and urges them inside, promising to take them somewhere safe. Moments later, they step out into a quiet, untouched forest. Rena's foot touches the grass, and her shock snaps loose as she realizes they are in an entirely different place. She whirls on Liam, demanding to know how he did it, and he calmly explains he transported them all using the door's magic. The real weight hits her when she realizes he moved every single one of them at once with the same spell. The elves gather around Liam, crying out and begging him to become their leader. Liam freezes in shock as Rina bows with her hands clasped, begging him to become their king and guide them through everything. When another elf asks if he's the king of the human world, Liam can only blurt out his disbelief. Reyna drives a plea home, promising that if Liam becomes their king, the elves will do anything for him. Liam finally understands their devotion is real, and he forces out an answer. He can't call himself a king, but he'll be their leader. Reyna thanks him in relief, but Liam's expression quickly turns serious. They need real land to build a proper home. 4 days later, the elves are happily settled into forest life. eating the instant noodles Liam made for them. Liam is still grinding away at the sacred magic Ladon gave him, practicing high-level spells over and over until he can memorize them. Ladon watches with dry amusement, calling the boy tenacious, while Liam just smiles at the thought of mastering it. Liam's eyes light up as the answer finally clicks. The phantom is already there, and all he has to do now is picture where he wants to go. He turns at once and orders Rena to gather everyone, and she snaps into action without hesitation. Moments later, Liam looks over the assembled elves to make sure everyone is present. Liam gathers the elves and unleashes a sharp burst of high-level sacred magic, casting teleport. The group vanishes in a flash of light, landing together on unfamiliar ground and shocked by the sudden shift. They've been teleported 100 kilometers away, straight into a vast, sealed-off crater known as the Sealed Land. The teleportation works perfectly, proving Liam can go anywhere he's already been marked. He greets his phantom, dismisses it, and grins at the thought of mastering a spell that lets him travel in a blink. But the phantom suddenly tells him to raise his hands, leaving Liam completely baffled. At the phantom's command, Liam lifts his hand, and the mark on his palm answers the seal carved into the cliff. The stone shudders, cracks racing outward like the sealed land itself is waking up. Liam's shock bursts out as the barrier around the crater starts splitting open. The barrier tears open with a violent crack, and the sealed crater spills into view. Rena's eyes shine as she gasps at the sight, while another elf stares out at the wide land and trees stretching beneath the mountains. It is a breathtaking, untouched paradise. The crater isn't just empty land, it's one of the places Ladon personally sealed away. Liam awkwardly asks if they can use it, and the permission lands like a miracle. They can use it as they see fit, and even establish their country there. The elves burst into joy, thanking Liam Sama and the Divine Dragon as their new home becomes real. Liam knows the sealed land can only become a real home if the elves have water, so he starts searching the green crater. When he can't spot a source, he takes a shortcut and summons the water spirit Celsius. He explains that water access is the first thing they need before choosing where to build a town, and the spirit calmly accepts the task. Celsius lifts her hand over the crater, and the sealed land starts to answer her call. The earth rumbles, underground water surges through the trees, and a huge geyser blasts out of the mountainside with terrifying force. Liam and the elves recoil in shock as the water source they desperately need is revealed all at once. The water erupts from the crater, swelling into a wide, glittering lake surrounded by forest, more than enough for the elves' new home. Liam looks at Celsius, stunned and thrilled, admitting it's absolutely perfect. With a town now possible, Liam turns excited and decisive. They'll build their base here, and next, he needs to bring an architect. By the morning of the third day, Liam has drilled teleportation until he finally feels ready to leave. He tells Rena he'll be back, leaving the little dragon-like guardians behind to protect everyone while he's gone. The elves wave him off with cheerful goodbyes, but the moment Liam vanishes in another flash of teleportation magic, they're left staring in absolute awe. Liam's simultaneous chanting has pushed his limits further, allowing him to chain 19 consecutive spell uses. He tests it hard, teleporting again and again, until sweat flies from him and the count hits 15 consecutive casts. The breakthrough snaps into place. The activation time has shrunk to 1 day, proving that mastering a spell is about how many times he actually activates it. Liam burns through his mana again and again, using Recro crystals to instantly refill his magic power after every teleportation attempt. His activation time drops to 15 minutes, then 1 minute, but even that feels too slow for a real fight. But then the final breakthrough hits. Liam realizes he can finally cast teleport on the fly, mastering it in just 1 day. While Liam masters teleportation, Princess Scarlet summons him to her quarters. She invites him to sit, but Liam is clearly tense as he asks why she called him there. Scarlet blushes, almost blurting out a secret about a demon dragon, before cutting herself off and asking if the dragon ever mentioned a promised land. Liam realizes Scarlet's promised land might actually be the sealed land Ladon mentioned. He admits he already tried the Carpenters Guild, but nobody would leave their homes to move somewhere so far away. Scarlet pushes him to use his special magic, and the word magic suddenly makes Liam's eyes light up with a new idea. The next day, Scarlet keeps her promise and brings Liam to Gorak, a dwarf and the royal court engineer. Gorak starts with a blunt warning. He hates familiar magic. Liam doesn't care, lifting his ringed hand to correct the dwarf that it's contract summoning, but Gorak recoils anyway, snapping that he already said he hates it. Liam grins and pulls Gorak into his plan, declaring he's gonna borrow the dwarf. He turns to Scarlet with a bigger ask, inviting the princess to join them in the sealed land. Scarlet hesitates, but the possibility of a link to the promised land wins her over, and Liam takes her hand to teleport them away. Scarlet is thrown into the sealed land by Liam's teleportation and nearly loses her composure at the sheer scale of the high-level sacred magic. She stares across the hidden valley and realizes the truth. This is the real Valley of Lagar, sealed and disguised by Ladon himself. Overwhelmed, Scarlet grips herself, breathless and blushing as she whispers the dragon's name, desperate to ask him something. Scarlet stares over the hidden valley, breath still unsteady, and asks if this is really the Promised Land. Liam tries to steady her hope, reminding her that Ladon never said this wasn't the place she's searching for. He points out that humans might just be calling it by the wrong name, and the Promised Land could simply be a title humans gave the place themselves. Scarlet takes in Liam's theory, then lays out the old myth of the Promised Land as a paradise created to save mankind from extinction. Then a ring catches Liam's attention, and Scarlet names it the Key of Fate. The moment it's close to him, his dragon crest starts reacting violently, and a stunned Liam blurts that he needs to borrow it for a second. Scarlet grabs Liam as the ground suddenly starts trembling, and the grass whips violently around them. The cliffside doesn't just shake, it begins to rise, rocks breaking loose as the whole valley starts lifting into the air. Liam can barely process the impossible sight as the land itself floats up. Scarlet realizes the impossible truth. The rising land isn't just a cliff, it's Lagar Valley itself. Liam stares in shock as the valley tears away from the surrounding earth, rocks falling behind it. He barely manages to ask what this even means, wondering if only the land inside the valley is floating. The valley keeps rising, the earth and forest trembling as Scarlet breathes out that this is the Promised Land after all. Liam grips the ring, wondering if it works like a Magicpedia to make land float, and tries to push it again. But the truth hits hard. Without Ladon's power, he doesn't have enough magic to keep the land floating. The floating valley brings Scarlet to her knees, trembling in the grass as she looks at Liam like everything she searched for has finally answered back. She calls him the Lord of the Promised Land, sending Liam into a panic as he asks what happened. Scarlet's desperation sharpens into a fierce plea, begging him to make a new country here. Scarlet's plea lands like a crown being placed on Liam's head, asking him to make a new country in the Promised Land. Liam, stunned and blushing, answers with a bright, reckless agreement. Scarlet explains she originally just wanted a town for the elves, but now she wants to pledge an alliance with the Lord of the Promised Land, and Liam's resolve hardens to establish the new nation. Before the nation can truly begin, a massive beast lunges from the brush. Liam launches a brutal volley of 17 magic bullets. The creature barely has time to bare its teeth before the shots slam into it, ripping through its body in a violent burst of force and dust. Liam calls out to his phantoms and drives Holy Lance through the Promised Land, blasting the ground into a roaring cloud of dust while his constructs take over the housemaking. Scarlet is so stunned by the Lord's magic that she blurts out her shock, quickly catching herself to admit she was taken aback by how powerful he really is. Liam starts to promise Scarlet that he'll show her more of the Promised Land once they finish clearing the area, but he nearly slips back into calling her Your Highness. Scarlet's eyes sharpen, and she cuts him off, asking him to call her by her name instead, with no honorifics, because she wants to follow him now. Liam stammers in agreement, his head spinning as he realizes she's still the first princess, far above him in rank. Scarlet lays bare the reason she can't walk away. Her mother's family carried dragon blood, and the kingdom's kings have always married women with that lineage to keep it alive. Her eyes sharpen with conviction as she declares that, as someone who inherited dragon blood, she wants to serve under Lord Ladon. Liam freezes, stunned by the weight of her devotion as the legend itself seems to stare back at him. Liam drops the bait, telling Scarlet that something is waiting for her about a kilometer north. She doesn't hesitate for a second, treating it as an order from Lord Ladon himself, and they hurry to the spot. They find what looks like a ruined structure, maybe a gate half swallowed by time, and Scarlet stares at it, suddenly uncertain if this is really it. Scarlet reaches the ruin and finds a dragon-shaped figure waiting on a glowing circle, hope rising as she asks if this is Lord Ladon. Liam crushes that hope instantly, telling her it's made of metal. Then the metal dragon roars like a living beast, and Liam explains it's only a copy of his guardian, telling her the first test is simple: beat it. Liam's confidence cracks for a second as he wonders how they're supposed to beat a metal dragon, but then a weak point appears on its forehead. It's an ancient language name, and if one character is erased, its meaning changes to obedience. Scarlet spots the exact mark instantly, and Liam locks onto it, lunging straight for the dragon's forehead to erase it. Liam drives Holy Lance straight into the metal dragon's forehead, right where the ancient character marks its weak point. The spell detonates against its metal skull, and the dragon's name is rewritten into obedience. Its huge body jolts and buckles, the fierce glare collapsing into a blank, round-eyed stare as Liam's gamble suddenly takes hold. Liam explains the mark on the metal dragon's forehead means it will now obey the blood Scarlet inherited. The dragon lowers before her, and Scarlet freezes as the truth sinks in. Then her composure cracks, tears shining in her eyes as she realizes Ladon has finally acknowledged her. Scarlet promises she'll return the instant the Metal Guardian repairs itself, staying behind to establish dominance between herself and the dragon. Liam heads back to the elves and everyone else, only to find the forest path shattered, trees splintered, and debris scattered everywhere. His shock bursts out before he can even process the destruction. Liam stops cold in the ruined forest as the elves rush to him in panic, crying that they got attacked by werewolves. A massive werewolf bares its fangs, growling that they're trespassing on sacred land and threatening to tear them to pieces. Liam freezes at the word sacred land and throws his hands up, desperate to stop the bloodshed before it starts. An elf takes a brutal hit and curses as blood spills from the wound while another slams a heal spell into him. The werewolves keep pressing the attack, but Liam answers with a crackling lightning spell that tears through one beast's chest. Yet another wolf is already lunging at a defender, and the fight explodes in the chaos. A massive werewolf is seconds away from tearing the elves apart, but Liam steps directly into its path. The beast just sees a fragile human, snarling at the small fry. Liam doesn't flinch. He summons the one proof that cuts through the rage, Ladon Jr. The tiny dragon materializes, and the werewolf's bloodlust instantly shatters into stunned recognition. They know Ladon's name, which means these beasts aren't just monsters, they're blood relatives of the dragon. The sheer weight of Ladon's name freezes the werewolf mid-snarl. Liam presses the advantage, asking if this clan's entire purpose is to drive out outsiders on the dragon's orders. The beast growls a confirmation, and Liam flips the entire dynamic. The elves were once under Ladon's protection too. That makes them allies, not trespassers. For the first time, the werewolf's fury falters. The werewolves immediately stand down, practically tripping over themselves to apologize for the misunderstanding. The elves seize the opening, pitching a familiar contract with Liam as a direct alliance with Lord Ladon. Since they've already pledged loyalty to the dragon, Liam can't exactly say no. He raises his hand, channels familiar magic, and begins binding them, starting with the name Chris. His first new werewolf familiar steps forward, and Liam's brain completely short-circuits. Chris isn't a hulking brute. She's a smiling, fluffy-eared girl who gives a bright little wave like nothing is weird about this. Liam had been laughing to himself this whole time, absolutely convinced every werewolf was male. Chris leans in with an innocent little question, completely derailing his thoughts, but there's no time to dwell. The newly evolved werewolves hit the warp force, and construction speed goes absolutely nuclear. They haul massive logs and swarm the site with terrifying enthusiasm. Suddenly, Chris comes bouncing over with both arms raised, shouting for her master. She launches herself at Liam, nearly knocking him off balance until he barks at her to calm down. She instantly folds her hands, apologizing and insisting she's trying her best. Liam sighs, telling her it's fine, as long as she fixes the wall she just broke in the first place. Chris salutes and sprints off to repair it, leaving Liam with a small, helpless smile. Staring at the splintered timber, Liam wishes he could just fix it with magic. Then, a rule snaps into place: if he can't fix it, make a new one. Creation magic. The answer drills into him like a direct order. Picture it in your mind, know exactly what you want, and visualize every step from raw process to final result. He forces a perfect plank into his head, but something feels missing. Then, his thoughts finally click. Everything has a cause and an effect, source and outcome. He looks at the broken timber not as trash, but as raw material, and the clean plank as the finished product. It isn't just about picturing a board. He has to use magic like clay, reshape the source, and map every single step from broken wood to finished timber. The answer floods through him. Time to prove it. Liam calls out shape memory, and the broken pillar violently snaps back into perfect condition. He tells Chris to smash it. She answers with a bright okay and drives a devastating punch straight into the wood. The pillar just instantly returns to the way it was, leaving her completely stunned. Liam explains the trick to Asuna. Shape memory gives inanimate objects an original form to always return to. Asuna goes completely starry-eyed, gushing that this is exactly why he's their master. Ladon's amused voice chimes in, noting Liam managed to master it in a single day. But Liam doesn't stop there. He keeps grinding with Undine and Celsius, evolving his basic magic bullet into a roaring power missile. Liam is already fired up, itching to develop even more spells. Ladon pushes back, reminding him he needs to learn more about this world by actually building his country. Liam accepts that, but his mind is already chasing something much bigger. He wonders who discovered magic in the first place. Whoever did it had to create it from absolute scratch, and now, Liam wants to reach that exact level. Ladon laughs, delighted by the boy's growth, saying he was right to select him. But the triumph shatters when a desperate cry cuts in from the trees. An elf girl rushes in, shaking and terrified. Liam is human, and he saved the pixies, but now other humans are attacking them. Liam freezes, pure horror washing over his face. A mounted party of armed humans bursts from the trees surrounding Liam. Their bearded leader barks a demand, asking if this kid is the landlord of the territory. Liam doesn't deny it. He answers with shocking certainty that this is his country. The rider immediately demands the name of this nation, and Liam's confidence instantly shatters. He can only stare, sweating, as the word echoes in his head. The armed riders don't even take him seriously. The captain mutters that this has to be a prank, and his men push to just ride off. But Liam answers with overwhelming force. He unleashes 17 power missiles in a single breath. The barrage tears across the ground, blasting rock and dirt into the sky as the horses rear in absolute panic. Liam thrusts his hand forward, making the warning impossible to ignore. That was just a warning. This is his land. If they try to force their way in, he'll force them out himself. The riders panic as their mounts thrash, but the captain can only stare in shock at the kid who just cratered the earth beneath them. Liam's eyes sharpen, calling them ignorant fools. The scouting party's bravado collapses instantly. The horses shriek and rear, throwing the armed riders into total chaos. Men claw at the reins, shout in panic, and get flung from their saddles while the beasts stampede. What was supposed to be an easy land grab turns into a humiliating rout before Liam even needs to throw a second blow. The scouting party is completely finished. The captain crawls in the dirt as his men scramble away under their panicked horses. Liam doesn't soften, roaring that they better never come back. Then Asuna rushes out from the trees, breaking the tension as she reassures him. She took care of the pixies who came to her for shelter, and she's decided to accept even more of them. Liam offers to name any pixies who want to join, and Asuna immediately volunteers every single one of them. Liam looks up at the massive swarm and nearly breaks, asking how many there actually are. Asuna explains the rest saw them and wanted to follow too. Liam casts contract magic on another 100 pixies, and one after another, they evolve into elves, jumping the village population by 100. The forest trembles as a colossal bronze dragon statue grinds its way out of the trees. Reyna freezes, whispering that it's a statue of the divine dragon, but Chris blurts out that it's actually moving. Scarlet's voice cracks with excitement, announcing that the ancient characters on its forehead have been fully restored. Liam just calls Scarlet, Reyna, and Chris over. He has something important to discuss. Liam gathers his team around the table and lays out the clue, asking if they recognize the mark. It's the emblem of Parta Principality, a country bordering the Promised Land. His expression tightens as the danger snaps into focus. Those armed riders weren't just random intruders. Parta may have already sent a scouting party. The attack means this is more than just one careless scouting party. The Valley of Lagar used to keep the three countries separated, but the rebirth of the Promised Land has joined them together. If Parta came, then Jamil and Conquistador could be marching in soon too. Scarlet drives the point home. They need to build a real country here, and they are missing a real defense force. Chris throws her fist up, volunteering the Beastmen to handle the defense. Liam agrees they're perfectly suited for battle, but Scarlet warns that if neighboring powers realize how strong they are, they'll form alliances against them. Still, Liam sees the advantage in that fear. Taking down a scout or two could make enemies decide it's safer to treat them as allies. Chris grins, asking if it's fine to annihilate anyone who threatens her master. A visitor arrives at the settlement, introducing himself with polished confidence, Leonardo Barclay. The name hits immediately. He's a high-ranking nobleman from Jamil. Then Leonardo drops the real reason he came. King Lorenzo II sent him personally, and Jamil has no intention of fighting. Instead, he offers an alliance, leaving Liam completely blindsided. Leonardo makes the offer plain. Jamil is ready to hand over its first princess, Lady Scarlet, to seal the alliance. Scarlet and Liam freeze, because the move screams politics. Liam instantly realizes Jamil knows this land is tied to the sacred dragon. He turns the offer back on him, asking if Leonardo has ever even met Scarlet before, catching the nobleman completely off guard. Leonardo answers with a smug calm. He has seen Scarlet many times before, which means Jamil is knowingly offering up its first princess while she stands right beside Liam. Liam's instincts scream that he needs Scarlet's judgment. He pushes his simultaneous magic to the limit, inventing telepathy on the spot. He reaches Scarlet directly inside her head, telling her not to react, and asks if they should accept. Scarlet's answer comes back immediately: accept the offer. Whatever Jamil's true motive is, marrying their first princess buys Liam at least half a year, because Conquistador and Parta will hesitate. Liam absorbs that with a stunned realization. Then he turns back to Leonardo and plays the perfect nobleman, declaring it will be his honor to marry Her Royal Highness. Liam turns the marriage offer into a delay, asking Leonardo for 1 year. He claims the situation isn't ready yet, but in a year he'll be able to take her hand. Leonardo is shaken, but he bows and accepts it. The moment that's settled, Scarlet's voice slips into Liam's head with a low laugh. Jamil is stalling too. They underestimated him and want time to reassess. Liam has Scarlet guide his phantom out of the village at high speed, letting it bookmark the royal capital so he can teleport straight there. He lands inside her royal capital mansion, immediately noting it's even more extravagant than Hamilton's place. Scarlet, unsettled by the impossible arrival, quietly asks if he might not be the real lord. Liam answers with a calm smile. His phantom already memorized the location. Liam stops cold inside the mansion as an old, familiar presence brushes against him. Ladon answers from within, confirming there's a faint remnant of his power here. Liam immediately turns to Scarlet and asks if she has anything derived from the dragon. Scarlet doesn't hesitate. She tells him a statue has been passed down for generations and leads him straight to it. Ladon's voice rumbles from the statue's remnant, recognizing it like an old wound from the war. Liam asks if he should use magic on it, and Ladon tells him to try all clear. Liam obeys and fires the spell. The statue cracks apart in a blinding burst of light, and Scarlet is suddenly swallowed by shining pieces of dragon armor materializing out of thin air. She freezes, horrified and stunned. Wrapped in the shining dragon armor, Scarlet manages to force a spell through it. Holy Lance. She barely holds herself together afterward, panting and trembling. She actually did it, but the spell drained every single drop of her mana in one shot. Ladon explains that the magical battle armor was created from his own power, and Scarlet can't hide her shock at how Liam uses that kind of spell like it's nothing. Liam realizes the armor's true danger. It lets humans cast his magic using their own mana, and that's exactly why these relics were wiped out in the war. Scarlet, still shaking and completely drained, apologizes. Ladon cuts in, warning that this isn't ordinary gear. It's the highest grade, the golden armor, one of only 3 magical battle armors ever made. Liam's confidence snaps back when he realizes Ladon is literally inside him. If the dragon can guide him, they can recreate it. Scarlet follows Ladon's instructions and forges a tiny Ladon Jr. statue from high mithril silver, mixing her own magic into it. For all its dangerous potential, she can't help admitting the little dragon is kind of cute. Ladon explains the final step, spill her blood, to form a contract. Scarlet completes the contract, and the tiny Ladon statue answers. Power surges through the golden armor. She lifts the little dragon, shocked that she can actually feel the energy. That power doesn't just sit there. Scarlet draws a radiant bow and fires Holy Arrow. This time, she doesn't collapse. She's still standing, shaken but intact, realizing a high-grade magical tool is practically a living being. Liam's eyes widen at the idea that the golden armor is practically alive. He instantly reaches for a warlike name, asking the armor for its true title. Scarlet answers, Ares. She can't help being shaken by the way Liam thinks, but the change is undeniable. The armor feels lighter and even more power is rushing through her body. Scarlet lifts it again and fires Holy Lance. Scarlet's Holy Lance punches a hole straight through the solid mansion wall. Ladon's voice rolls in with a grin. He's never seen a human use magical battle armor this way before. The only exception is the armor he named himself, Guardian Ladon, his personal gear from the 3 Dragon Wars. Liam and Scarlet both freeze as the truth lands. This isn't just armor, it's a relic from the war. Liam asks if he can use it, and the voice tells him to try. He calls Scarlet over, and together they stand before the enormous dragon statue. He cuts his hand and seals the contract. The statue answers him, and he realizes, completely stunned, that he can actually control something that massive. The dragon statue answers Liam's contract with a brutal living surge. Power gathers in his hand, races through his body, and the armor snaps onto him in a blinding flash. Liam shouts that it's equipped as the Guardian Ladon armor locks into place. This time, the relic's full strength is under his control. Liam thrusts his armored hand forward and unleashes the Guardian Ladon armor's true power. Power Missile. A storm of magic blasts out in a relentless chain, 37 missiles in a row. The sheer force is almost unthinkable, leaving Scarlet completely stunned by the consecutive barrage. Liam curses under his breath as the Guardian Ladon armor leaves him shaking. Scarlet rushes to him, but he forces out that he's fine. He just poured every last drop of his mana into that barrage. Ladon only laughs, fascinated. This is the first time anyone has used magic while wearing the armor, and Liam is one of only 3 people who survived putting it on. Ladon's voice turns dark, saying he could take over the world. Liam gives a smug little huff as the colossal Guardian Ladon statue stands fully restored behind him. He turns to Scarlet and asks if he can borrow the relic for a while. She instantly says of course, telling her lord to keep it. Grinning, Liam calls item box and starts swallowing the massive dragon relic into his inventory. Liam teleports Scarlet back to the royal capital so she can start countering Leonardo's offer through politics while he returns to town. Back home, he puts the phantoms and werewolves straight to work. Gorak's phantom brings real craftsmanship and engineering knowledge, while the werewolves haul lumber with their overwhelming physical strength. The village finally has its first completed buildings. Neat wooden houses are lined up in a row with elves and townsfolk moving around them. The elves prove especially useful with tools, and thanks to everyone's work, construction has gone smoothly. The buildings are finished, but Liam knows this is only the first step toward building the town he actually wants. Asuna rushes to Liam with a warning. Chris told her there's a herd of trolls living right near the area. Liam recognizes the description immediately. 2 or 3 meter tall monsters with massive muscles settling right beside them. Asuna explains that trolls split into 2 extremes, violently aggressive or incredibly kind-hearted. These ones look violent and a clash would be a disaster. Asuna confirms they are there. Liam heads east and finds the lush forest abruptly giving way to a harsh, rocky wasteland. There's no greenery left, but the moment he picks up a stone, he knows the land is rich in resources. It's pure iron ore. Liam's expression sharpens as the pieces click into place. This barren stretch is exactly the kind of place trolls would show up for. Liam stands alone before a wall of massive trolls, their stone-crusted bodies radiating pure hostility. One of them narrows his eyes and demands to know what Liam even is. Liam doesn't back down. He gives his name and says he's establishing a country nearby, so he came to invite them. The trolls reject him instantly, growling that a human is lying. Liam answers that elves, pixies, and werewolves are already living together there. The trolls' answer is immediate and brutal. Get off their land or die. His massive foot slams down, cracking the rocky ground and shaking the air around Liam. The sheer pressure forces Liam to tense up, sweat breaking across his face as he realizes these trolls aren't just refusing, they're ready to kill him. Beneath them, the earth starts rumbling like the whole wasteland is about to erupt. A troll's punch smashes into the rock with brutal force, blasting stone apart. Liam's stomach drops. He doesn't want to hurt them, but he has no idea how to stop them without a real fight. He barely dodges with a startled shout, then realizes his fatal mistake. He let his guard down by writing them off as simple muscleheads. One clean hit from a troll, and he's dead. Liam throws himself forward, wondering if he can make it. The trolls freeze in shock as he dives through the rubble and barely slips under a crushing stomp. The ground splits apart around him while he still desperately tries not to strike back. The troll's stomp comes down hard, but Liam is still standing there completely untouched. The beast snarls in disbelief, asking how there isn't a single scratch. Liam lets out a shaky breath and admits it was close, but Guardian Ladon's magical battle armor took the hit clean. He orders the armor to release. His arm tingles from the impact, but he shrugs it off. With a calmer look, he decides the fight here is already settled. Liam's gamble pays off in shattered bone. The troll boss's killing stomp comes down with enough force to pulverize stone, but Liam takes the full impact on Guardian Ladon's magical battle armor. The beast roars that the little human is dead, only for Liam to step out of the dust, completely untouched. Cutting through the chaos, Liam points out the obvious: the boss is losing control and crushing his own kin. The giant's rage instantly cools. Recognizing a true equal, the warlord finally agrees to talk. The troll boss demands to know what Liam actually wants. Liam doesn't sugarcoat it. He's building a new country, and he wants the trolls to live there. The boss snaps back, asking why them. Liam lays out the brutal truth. More humans are going to push into this land soon, and he refuses to let the trolls be attacked and subjugated. The giant stays suspicious, but he doesn't swing again. Instead, he demands proof. Show them the village first. Liam teleports the troll boss and his men straight into the new village, and the sacred magic shock hits them like a physical blow. One troll, drenched in sweat, can barely process the sheer density of high-level magic in the air, but the village itself is the real proof. Neat houses line the streets, people are working, and Liam wasn't lying. The tense tour snaps into absolute chaos when a girl comes barreling in, charging straight at the giant and screaming that he's a meathead. The troll boss freezes, blurting out that she must be the wild boar girl. Chris snaps back mid-kick, correcting him that she's a wolf, and slams him face first into the dirt. Liam is completely thrown by the sudden violence, asking how she's related to him. Chris cuts him off without missing a beat. She's been beating him up for ages because he disgusts her. Still standing over the groaning giant, Chris rattles off their long rivalry score. Liam calls them an inseparable pair, but then he realizes the terrifying truth. The troll boss hasn't weakened at all. Chris has. She admits Liam used familiar magic on her, making her a lot stronger. As she proudly declares her master powered her up, Liam's thoughts snag on the massive implication. Chris grins and declares the troll boss should form a contract with Liam too. The giant sputters in disbelief, but Chris reminds him he lost to her, so he has to obey her orders. Flustered and completely cornered, he grudgingly tells Liam to just do whatever the girl says. Liam beams, telling them they look good together, then offers his hand and asks for the troll boss's name. Gaida finally gives his name, and Liam is stunned that the giant can suddenly talk so politely. Gaida's eyes narrow as he clocks exactly what Liam did to Chris. His aura surges and his massive body begins to shrink. Liam realizes the towering troll is condensing, becoming much smaller, but over 3 times stronger. Chris doesn't let the moment settle. She launches right back into the fight, shouting that they should continue. Gaida's fist tears forward with terrifying force. Chris instantly realizes the nightmare. Every single one of his attacks could kill an enemy in a single blow. She yelps and dodges, but the danger is real. One clean hit from the strengthened troll could end her. Chris's footwork is a blur, slipping around Gaida's monstrous swings. Liam sweats through the exchange, trying to convince himself they're just playing around, but the pace is frightening. The other trolls stare at Gaida in awe, muttering that their boss is insanely strong. The words land like a revelation, the legend, the giant. Liam's face tightens as he realizes the troll boss isn't just a brute, he's a myth made flesh. Liam figures out the terrifying trigger. When he used familiar magic and gave Chris a name, trolls evolved into giants. He turns to the rest of them, bright with dangerous opportunity, and declares they're going to give everyone a name. The trolls freeze, barely managing nervous replies. Liam steps up to the line of kind-hearted giants, already seeing what they could become. If war ever comes, these newly evolved trolls could be the settlement's impenetrable defense force. The newly evolved giants immediately throw themselves into work, hauling massive boulders through the rocky quarry. Gaida pauses mid-carry, noticing something. Chris is there too, struggling under a huge stone and forcing it forward with desperate grunts, refusing to quit even though it's clearly crushing her. Chris refuses to back down, dragging the massive stone and insisting it's nothing, even as Gaida warns her not to force herself. The strain overwhelms her, and she crashes down with a pained scream. The giants tell her they can handle the heavy lifting, but she's already pushing past her limits. When someone scolds her, Chris flushes with fury, snarling that this doesn't mean she's lost, and launches herself back into the work. Gaida asks what Liam plans to do with all those boulders. Liam says they're going to extract metal. He calls on Gnome and Salamander, melts the stones in a furnace, and pulls out gold, copper, platinum, and iron. The quarry really was richest in iron, but the mithril silver haul is barely anything. Liam stares at the tiny specks of high mithril silver in his palm. It's painfully clear the quarry didn't give him nearly enough to make magic battle armor. He asks if making the armor without it is impossible, and the answer is basically yes. Other metals won't cut it. Chris warns him that enthusiasm won't change the rules of alchemy, but Liam just grins. He'll try anyway. He doesn't mind failing. Liam grins through the mithril dead end. Failure is just a lack of success. He lays out the workaround. Salamander melts the iron. Gnome casts it into a mold. Then Ladon's magic wraps the whole thing. Liam hits it with familiar magic and gives it a name, Apollo, meaning sun. He remembers how naming Scarlet's armor boosted its performance. If this iron thing follows the same rule, maybe the impossible armor can still be made. Liam bets on the name itself. If the iron armor is Apollo, the sun, then casting it in the shape of a sun might increase its power. Chris connects the dots. When Liam named the trolls, they evolved according to the meaning of their names. The iron armor blazes to life. It works. Liam lights up, asking if it really succeeded, and Ladon confirms it. The iron magic battle armor is a success. The breakthrough hits a harsh rule. Liam can't reuse a name. Naming becomes a curse any human can cast but not recycle. The armor's success only makes the bottleneck more infuriating. After grinding himself raw, he comes up with 15 names, 5 each for elves, werewolves, and giants. The newly named fighters immediately start throwing themselves into sparring. Chris hurls the first insult, laughing that Gaida is too slow to touch her. Gaida snarls back that she can't hit him either. She punches him anyway, but he fires back that her punches have no effect. Liam watches from the sidelines and realizes only those two are actually fighting. Chris and Gaida glare at each other, furious and ready to stop holding back. Liam watches them and realizes they're closer than their constant bickering makes it look. He suggests pairing them up. The two of them could tear through a small attacking group while defending the settlement. He imagines Gaida puffing himself up, bragging that there's no opponent he can't defeat, while Chris hides behind him. But the thought gets cut short when a horse suddenly neighs nearby. A group of riders appears. A bearded rider spots the settlement and barks for the others to look. Elves. Too many elves. The men's greed turns ugly fast. To them, this mysterious land isn't a home, it's a treasure mountain. If they can sell every elf they find, they'll be set for life. One of the settlement's young fighters stiffens as the rider rides up and snarls for them to come quietly, or they'll use force. Mina's name is called. The elf beside her grips her shoulder, but Mina whispers that she understands and steps toward the riders alone. The bearded rider's eyes lock onto her with ugly greed, calling her a good girl. But one elf isn't enough for him. He jabs a hand forward, snarling that they're taking them all. Mina freezes, rage flashing through her fear as his hand reaches for her. Her fist clenches. She is not coming quietly. Mina doesn't wait for the rider to grab her. She lashes out with a brutal kick that smashes into the bearded man's face and blasts him off his horse. The other riders freeze in shock. One snarls that she's a bitch, while another can only choke out a stunned question as the hit cracks through the air. Chris stands among the fallen riders, trying to parse how easily Mina wiped them out. Liam realizes the iron battle armor has made the once weak elves far more reliable. He could probably make 10 or 20 more sets, if only the naming problem didn't already make his head hurt. Then the danger snaps back into focus. One of the riders grabs a boy and presses a knife to his throat, snarling that if anyone moves, the boy is dead. Mina, Chris, and Gaida scream as the rider keeps the boy pinned under his knife. The hostage-taker's bravado dies the second Liam steps in. Blade ready, Liam warns him flat out that if he moves, his head will fly off. The man freezes, sweating, realizing Liam is dead serious. Liam doesn't negotiate with the knife at the boy's throat. He closes the distance and drives one fist into the rider's face with a cold power missile. The man goes down in one brutal hit, stunned out of his hostage play. The settlement fighters stare at the sprawled body in disbelief, muttering about the most devastating one-shot they've ever seen. The rest of the riders immediately break, scrambling onto their horses and shouting to run. Liam turns his attention from fighting to survival. In this other world, he calls out for the Celsius spirits to come out. A whole row of them answers. He orders them to pull every bit of ocean water from his item box, separate the salt from it, and put the salt back inside. The village population has grown, and every living thing needs salt and water. Now he has both. A familiar spirit appears before Liam and asks if he remembers her. She's the first spirit he ever evolved. She thanks him because his naming magic expanded her whole worldview, and now she can possess things. Liam freezes when he realizes there's a spirit king at all, then blurts out his shock that she can really possess things. The familiar explains that once she reaches medium-grade strength, she can possess something forever. Liam finally understands the implication, then offers to give her that power if she'll help him in return. She accepts instantly. He names the Celsius spirits, then gives the familiar her own name, Zero, Celsius Zero. She takes shape as a swirling whirlwind. Liam feels the power surging through the new creation. Zero can possess things now. He called on Gnome and Salamander, shaped a Celsius statue, and fused Ladon's magic into it. He gives the order for Zero to possess it. The medium-grade water spirit flows into the statue, and the whole thing erupts with power. Liam's face lights up in triumph. The Celsius spirit has become magic battle armor. Zero's possessed magic battle armor explodes into action. The armored spirit thrusts her hands forward and unleashes a violent column of water. The blast erupts with enough force to blast leaves and spray everywhere, catching the other fighter in the raw power of the newly created armor. Chris snaps into motion. Her magic battle armor detonates with a brutal explosion. The blast rips outward, shaking the air and sending force crashing through the space around her. A mustached armored fighter bellows and unleashes Gaia Crusher. He hammers his power down hard enough to split the earth. The blast erupts beneath the other fighter and hurls him upward through a spray of shattered rock. Mina is glowing with relief, realizing this armor is even better than yesterday. Gaida plants himself in the new suit and swears that with this much power, he can protect everyone. But the armor isn't free. It burns spirit energy. The others immediately start vying to help Liam too, determined to grow strong enough to use it. Liam's eyes sharpen as he takes in the bigger picture. If he can mass-produce it, they'll have enough power to defend a country. Liam is still smiling over the armor breakthrough, completely unaware of the monster he's accidentally sketching out. If he keeps ranking up his fighters and handing them power-enhancing armor, it won't just defend the settlement. It could become a military force strong enough to conquer another country. Ladon notices the danger before Liam does, his amusement turning sharp. If people realize what Liam has made possible, they might even try to use Ladon himself as magic battle armor. Two girls corner Liam outside a building. The lighter-haired one snaps that he didn't even contact them. Liam scratches his head and apologizes, saying a lot happened. The lighter-haired girl softens, relieved he's safe, but the darker-haired girl starts to say something more important. Then the lighter-haired girl beams, holds out her hand, and asks for some money. Asuna and Jody press Liam for money, insisting they've already entrusted themselves to him. That makes Liam remember the chest Scarlet sent him long ago, 3,000 Jamil gold coins, paid to keep his mouth shut about Ladon. He opens it, and the sheer pile of coins shocks them. Liam explains it was basically hush money, so he wants to share it. Asuna and Jody immediately recoil, insisting they don't need payment. Their contract means they won't speak of it anyway. Liam tries to hand over their share, flustered because Asuna makes it sound like he's just giving them money. Asuna accepts, but immediately points out the problem. Carrying that much gold back would be dangerous, and someone would absolutely break into their house. Jody agrees, so Liam ends up keeping the money for them, telling them to ask whenever they need it. They leave the shop with a grateful thank you. A grimoire is thrust into Liam's hands. Jody tells him nobody in the city has this one. It's the only copy, and they finally managed to buy it. Asuna grins beside her, asking if he needed a grimoire. Liam takes it in, cheeks warm, and realizes the book is meant for him. When Jody presses him, Liam admits it. He's never seen this magic before. Liam studies the rare grimoire closely, eyes narrowing at the unfamiliar magic inside. He takes a steadying breath, then activates consecutive magic to initiate all line practice. The grimoire answers with a real magic flow, and Liam's expression sharpens with awe. He finally understands why they went out of their way to get it. It's the genuine article. When he looks up and thanks them, Asuna and Jody glow with happy embarrassment. Liam lays it all out. The promised land Scarlet spoke of, the land sealed away by Ladon, and his plan to build a new country there. Then he asks the question that changes everything. Do Asuna and Jody want to come to that place, or stay in town and keep living as hunters? Asuna freezes, stunned by how obvious the answer should be. Then she and Jody break into bright smiles. Of course they're coming. As familiars, they're going wherever Liam goes. Asuna asks when they'll leave. Liam answers with a bright, determined smile. After some time, he's using all-line practice right now to master the new magic, and once he has it down, they can go. Asuna nearly loses it. Already? That's way too fast. But Liam is locked in. He thrusts his hand forward and calls out, "Dustbox." A marked cube snaps into existence. The next step is no longer a dream. Liam is already on his 19th attempt, and he still doesn't stop. He forces consecutive execution and all-line to grind Dustbox down from an hour-long cast to just 3 minutes. The instant those 3 minutes hit, Liam chains the spell straight into Dustbox. The cube answers immediately. Liam throws up a fist, blazing with triumph. He mastered it on the spot, while Asuna and Jody stare at him in stunned disbelief. Jody asks what kind of magic Dustbox is. Liam explains it's basically like Item Box, holding as much as his magic power allows. Asuna picks up on the catch and asks what makes it different. Before Liam can answer, a waiter arrives with a fresh fish dish. Liam decides to test it on the spot, slipping the whole meal into the cube for just 1 minute. The instant he pulls it out, the fish is turned into a black, stinking mess. Asuna and Jody recoil in horror. Liam calmly explains the catch. Dustbox is a box that rots anything put inside it. Jody calls it a dustbin, and Asuna's eyes light up, asking what he could use it for. Liam actually has no grand answer yet. Then a crash cuts through the restaurant. A nearby patron has shattered a bottle and glass. Liam turns, suddenly realizing something, and hurries off, telling them to wait a second. Liam suddenly slumps over the table, heaving for breath. The cause is shockingly simple. He took a bottle of pure grape juice and dropped it into Dustbox for 5 minutes. When it comes back out, Jody catches the rich fragrance and realizes the truth. Wine. Asuna nearly bursts with excitement, thrilled that Liam just made wine in an instant. The useless Dustbox reveals its real power. It can mass-produce anything that ferments in a tiny fraction of the normal time. Liam sits cross-legged before Dustbox with 10 labeled bottles of grape juice lined up around him. He marks and fills each bottle, then feeds them in by number. Bottle 10 for 10 hours, bottle 9 for 9, all the way down to bottle 1 for just 1 hour. Glass in hand, he smiles with bright, nervous excitement, ready to see exactly how much time changes the juice. Liam starts with bottle number 1. One sip, and his eyes sharpen. The experiment is insane. Bottle 1 has become 1-year-old wine, while bottle 10 already carries the taste of a 10-year-old vintage. Inside Dustbox, 1 hour equals 1 year in the real world. For a second, Liam gets lost in the flavor, remembering his past life. But then he remembers the catch. He has a child's body now, so he forces himself to stop. Because Liam wants to make every kind of alcohol, the whole village floods into the fruit-heavy forest, baskets in hand. Scarlet can't hide her excitement at the endless supply. She picks up a strange star-shaped fruit she's never seen before. Asuna and Jody, now settled in the village too, join the picking. Asuna takes a bite and beams that it's delicious as it is. Asuna and Jody scream in horror as a man gets hammered back through the trees. The dark-haired, pointed-eared boy unleashes 17 shots of power missile, while another boy yells at him to stop as the attack goes way too far. The man gets hammered out of the trees and slams face first into the dirt. He barely manages to push himself up before his body gives out again. His eye is bloodshot, his face twisted with terror, like he just realized he's standing in front of something far beyond human. The dark-haired boy bolts, and the other boy throws up a hand after him, screaming to wait and asking what they are. Agony rips through Gon from the inside out, tearing a feral scream from his throat. The mustache man clamps onto the boy, begging him to hold on, but Gon just convulses in pure, unadulterated torment. Black veins spiderweb across Gon's face as he thrashes, looking less like a fighter and more like a hostage in his own body. Liam's expression hardens into cold focus. This isn't just rage, it's a parasitic condition. The mustached man can only hold him tighter, completely in the dark. Liam slams his palms against the boy's chest, flooding him with beginner-level sacred magic. The dark agony instantly drains from Gon's face, leaving him gasping in stunned relief as the invisible possession violently breaks. Gon is out cold, snoring like the nightmare never happened. Asuna guesses it was a standard vampire, but Jody shuts that down instantly. Vampires burn in daylight. Whatever just took Gon, it isn't bound by the sun. Asuna's mind jumps to the absolute worst possibility, a Dracula. Liam has no idea what that is, but her explanation turns his blood to ice. Vampires spread an infection through their bite, and if Gon was bitten, he's a ticking time bomb. Gon's pulse finally stabilizes, but Asuna looks at Liam like he just performed a miracle. When Liam asks what a Dracula actually is, her answer scales the threat to apocalyptic levels. It's a rare mutant that acts as a living battery, buffing every single vampire in its radius. The Dracula's mere presence cancels the vampire's only saving grace, sunlight. Daylight won't protect them anymore. Before Liam can even process the nightmare, a terrified shout rips through the village. A wolf-eared boy sprints into camp, screaming that over 10,000 vampires are gathering just 10 kilometers north. Liam's face goes completely blank. The warning just became an army at their doorstep. 10,000 is 100 times the village's entire population. The mustached man drives the horror deeper. Every drained victim becomes a vampire too. Liam asks if the horde includes every species in the area, and the man grimly confirms it. The horde grew by draining every living thing in their path, and a Dracula means they can march in broad daylight. Jody points out the brutal catch. They can't send a normal army because anyone drained just joins the enemy. Liam's expression hardens. They need a selected few. The messenger's report drops the final piece of the puzzle. The people in the Promised Land refused to evacuate, and when the vampires attacked, every single orc was turned. Then, a completely different kind of vampire showed up. The messenger watched the orcs get wiped out before every vampire bowed to one towering figure. That figure healed a fallen vampire and buffed the rest of the pack. Liam's face goes cold. That has to be the Dracula. Liam's fear instantly snaps into razor-sharp focus. If the other species won't listen, they can't wait for the horde to reach them. As soon as fists clench, they have to kill the Dracula first. A screaming horde surges forward like a living flood, fangs bared and eyes wild. The 10,000-strong nightmare isn't coming, it's already charging. Liam cuts through the panic with one impossible command. He summons a brand new magic battle armor. The others freeze, staring in shock as he gears up for war at the edge of disaster. The mustache man bellows Gaia Crushers and hurls a crushing strike into the oncoming horde. Asuna follows with a snarling Anger Blade, while Jody pours her magic into the counterattack. The three slam into the charge together. Scarlet's armor erupts with explosion, blasting the front of the flood. Jody drives Waterfall forward, and Asuna's spear whips into Spin Needle, drilling through the mass. Their attacks collide in a layered, devastating storm. The swarm is endless, swallowing Asuna and Jody in a sea of fangs. The mustached man barks the order to retreat, and they pull back up the cliff. Liam takes one step forward, and the battlefield braces for his move. A tall, long-haired vampire looms over the howling horde, smiling like the battlefield already belongs to him. Sweat beads on Liam's face as the realization hits. That's the Dracula. Rain suddenly hammers down, cutting Liam and the cloaked Dracula off from the rest of the forest. The Dracula stiffens, suddenly realizing they are completely alone. Liam grins through the downpour and drops the truth. He dragged them 100 kilometers away from the army. The Dracula's face twists in rage, but Liam is just relieved the isolation worked. The monster sneers, daring the boy to try. Liam asks if the Dracula still sees him as just a kid. The vampire bares his fangs, declaring he will consume every inferior species. Liam's expression goes dead cold. He names 3 targets and fires 19 power missiles straight into the arrogance. The missiles explode in a ring of white fire, but the Dracula just swats them away into smoke. He reappears in a black blur, slashing at Liam before the boy can even reset his stance. Liam barely slips away, his grin cracking at the sheer speed. Liam's confidence shatters for a half-breath as the vampire appears behind him. The Dracula snarls that the magic is annoying, but Liam doesn't flinch. He names his targets again, trapping the vampire in a ring of 9 holy missiles. Holy light rips through the Dracula in a blazing cross. Liam hopes he got him, but the smoke clears to reveal the monster completely untouched. The vampire's grin sharpens. It's his turn now. The Dracula's cloak snaps open, but the body Liam just blasted shatters into a phantom. The real monster is already behind him, clawed hand clamped over his mouth. Liam's eyes go wide. Dracula holds him locked, studying the boy who can use every kind of magic. Liam chokes out a command, his mind racing toward Guardian Ladon's armor. It would triple his power, would drain every drop of his mana. He grits his teeth and holds it back. Liam hurls Fireball and Ice Needle, but the vampire just smiles. He calls himself an existence that defies the world's logic. For him, there is no life, and therefore no death. The Dracula confirms his body is just a vessel, immortal as long as life exists around him. Liam's attacks are meaningless against something with no life to kill. The vampire's shadow reaches out, promising that as an underling, Liam will never feel despair again. The shadow and clawed hand surge in. Liam's scream cracks through the rain, trapped against a monster that literally cannot be killed. Liam throws his palm forward and screams, "Dust box!" A sharp, box-shaped magic tears across the space and catches the vampire's strike dead. For the first time, the immortal monster looks stunned. The Dracula realizes the trick. Dustbox can't contain a living being. But his fury twists into a cruel smile. If he isn't living, the rules change. Trapped inside the lifeless box, he sneers, but Liam just stares him down and tells him to find out. An hour passes in the real world, but inside the box, a full year drags on. Liam stands guard over the sealed cube, watching for any sign of a breakout. He knows one mistake could undo everything. 10 hours later, Liam is still holding the cube. He realizes that if one spell can finish the job, one spell is enough. With the threat contained, he asks if they should go home. Liam walks back into the torchlit camp, but the battle has gone strangely quiet. Two girls rush to him relieved, but his attention snags on the gathered crowd. A finger points toward the horde, and the silence feels completely wrong. The vampire horde is dead still. Asuna tells Liam they just stopped moving, and Jody pulls a fang from a vampire's mouth. It fell out on its own. Liam's victory broke the horde from the inside. The vampires' faces are clearing, but suddenly the infected ones clutch their heads in agony. One burns away in a violent flash, and the others scream in panic. The last traces of Dracula's power are ripping out of them. Liam watches the infected collapse into smoke and demands answers from Ladon. The dragon explains that with Dracula gone, the magic holding the underlings together is gone too. Liam's face twists in helpless fury. They're all gonna disappear. Liam refuses to accept that. He drives a cleansing spell into one infected vampire, watching the black corruption rip out. It works. He doesn't stop at one, firing off 19 all-clear spells at once. The infected are still convulsing, and Liam reels back in panic. One rescue isn't enough. The voices in his magic cut through the noise, reminding him of his own lesson. If one magic can finish the job, he just needs to make it bigger. Liam locks himself into Guardian Ladon's armor, forcing every scrap of mana to compress inside him. He doesn't need scattered rescues. He rewrites All Clear itself, turning it into a wide area spell. The wide area cleansing washes over the horde, and the corrupted survivors break down sobbing in relief. Liam barely breathes out that he did it before his legs give out. Then his eyes snap wide open, realizing he forgot something. Liam wakes up an hour later to Asuna and Jody glaring at him in worry. He immediately asks if Dracula's power is gone, and when Asuna confirms it, his eyes sharpen. He orders her to gather every pure vampire before the sun comes up. The vampire leader drops to his knees, begging Liam to take his head and spare the rest. Liam refuses, pointing out they were all controlled anyway. Then he smiles and makes an offer that freezes the leader in his tracks. Join him, and he'll make them immune to sunlight. Liam lays down the law, no going against him and no fighting each other. Asuna and Amelia jump in with open smiles, turning the terrifying standoff into an alliance. The leader nods, and Liam throws himself into the new pact. Liam flips the idea into action, tweaking familiar magic to exploit a loophole. Contract familiars always evolve, so he just needs to steer the evolution. He commands them to evolve into bodies that don't disintegrate in the sun. The gamble works, and the pure vampires evolve into noble vampires immune to daylight. Liam renames their leader Alucard. 5 days later, the dust box is finally empty, and Liam's consecutive magic limits have completely shattered. Miles away, Mr. Dalton is forced to admit the impossible. A single human killed Dracula. His grand army plan is dead, but his focus narrows on the crystal ball. He can see Liam's battles, but the final blow is completely hidden. Dalton's composure cracks as the truth lands. 17 consecutive spells, dragon magic, and battle armor. Liam isn't just a dangerous boy anymore, he's a monster. Dalton orders him watched, his greed sharpening for the power to claim that land. Liam collapses in the grass, completely drained from making 10,000 familiar contracts at once. But the real nightmare was naming them all. He spent an entire day giving them real names, and now his tiny, cheerful army of slimes is hopping around, chanting his name. A monster army just crowned a teenage boy their king, but right now, the most terrifying threat in the realm is a talking slime demanding a hug. Slaron has evolved into a boss-class ooze, proudly handing Liam a tiny, hand-carved wooden doll, while the rest of the swarm chirps in blind devotion. Beyond the hug, the refugee camp is mutating into a fortress. Rihanna is orchestrating a massive construction boom, Gaida is leading giant beast patrols, and Chris is locking down the food supply. Liam watches his scattered, broken people forge a real kingdom from the dirt up. The momentum shatters when Gaida rushes in, trailing a pack of slimes, to deliver the one title Liam hates most. His subjects are demanding an audience with their king. Liam freezes, but Gaida bellows that their master is the only sovereign they'll ever recognize. The beastman throws his arms wide and roars Liam's royal title across the entire settlement. Every single worker, riding beast, and slime freezes dead in their tracks, the sheer weight of the declaration hanging in the air. Gaida bares his fangs and challenges anyone foolish enough to oppose the decree. Not a single voice hesitates. The town erupts into a unanimous, deafening cheer, crowning Liam their king without a single dissent. Ladon, the golden dragon, lets out a booming chuckle that instantly cuts through Liam's frantic protests. The ancient beast shifts into a formal, earth-shaking cadence, leaving the new king completely off balance. The golden dragon bellows the final, undeniable decree, officially christening Liam Hamilton as the king of the country. The shouted loyalty of the settlement swells into a physical force, sealing his fate. Humans, beastfolk, and monsters raise their hands in a deafening roar for their new sovereign. Liam stands frozen, face flushed, trapped beneath the crushing weight of a crown he never asked for and can no longer refuse. Miles away from the cheering, a long-haired woman sits alone in a quiet room, waiting with practiced patience. When Liam finally enters, she greets him with a gentle, knowing smile, ready to spill the capital's darkest secrets. She drops the first bombshell. The royal family is hiding something vital about the land, but the exact nature of the secret remains buried. Layden offers no easy answers, so Liam decides they'll just have to dig up the truth themselves. Leaving Scarlet to tear through the capital's archives, Liam returns to the rapidly expanding village and zeroes in on a suspiciously silent ally. Instead of giving a straight answer, the woman tilts her head and asks if he truly understands what a guardian actually is. Liam guesses it's just a fancy term for magical armor, but Ladon shatters the assumption. The armor only boosts offensive output, it doesn't protect. To survive what's coming, they need an entirely different kind of shield. Deep in the underground cavern where the Guardian once slumbered, Liam stares at a dormant magic circle carved into the stone floor. Ladon's voice echoes in the dark, ordering him to fill the empty grooves with his newly leveled up magic. The chamber violently rumbles, grinding open a hidden staircase that plunges into the dark. Liam's breath catches as he descends, realizing the Guardian's true, ancient secret is buried right beneath his feet. Ladon warns that his old den is soaked in forbidden curses and lethal ancient magic. Instead of fear, Liam's eyes light up with the reckless thrill of a kid who just broke into a treasure vault. The first seal shatters as Liam's magic swells, absorbing the ancient script directly into his mind. He grins, realizing he can now chain 19 ancient spells together in a single, devastating breath. He reaches out and pops a floating orb in the chamber, only to watch his newly acquired spell vanish into thin air. Ladon confirms the nightmare. His ultimate magic has just been completely cancelled. The floating bubbles wipe out all 19 spells, revealing the chamber itself is a nullification field that devours ancient magic. Liam doesn't flinch, he just steps forward, determined to master the very space trying to erase him. Stones and magic missiles bounce off the bubbles, multiplying the nullifying field with every absorbed attack. Ladon calls it a grueling trial, but Liam just smiles and tells the dragon to watch a better way. Liam shouts a one-line contract summon, filling the chamber with perfect clones of himself. The army of Liams locks onto the bubbles and unleashes a synchronized, overwhelming volley of 19 power missiles. An hour of relentless, bone-bruising grinding pays off as Liam forces the ancient magic into a brand new shape. 18 hexagonal barriers slam into place, locking together into an impenetrable, floating fortress. He cuts the trial time down to a mere 5 minutes, slamming the final absolute force shield into place with blazing triumph. He hasn't just survived the nullification field, he has completely mastered the ancient magic. Back in the clearing, Liam faces his summoned double to test the new shield that nullifies physical attacks. The clone grins and readies a brutal strike, and Liam answers with a fierce, eager smile. The clone hurls an item box and a barrage of heavy stones, but the shield stops the crushing hits while letting the lighter debris slip through. Liam quickly maps out the exact weight limits of his new defense. A storm of arrows hammers the hexagonal barrier, shattering each one after a single piercing strike. Liam grins through the strain, realizing he just needs to cast faster and deploy more shields to outpace the barrage. Ladon points him to the next floor where the absolute magic shield is sealed, and Liam burns away the illusion to claim it. Realizing it blocks magical attacks just like his physical shield, he clenches his fist in pure excitement. Liam steadies his breathing, picturing every condition and step required to forge the ultimate magical defense. His eyes lock in with lethal focus as he channels his power into the final, critical spell. Arrows streak toward him as Liam throws his hand up, slamming the absolute magic shield into the air. His face locks in desperate focus, pushing the barrier to life a fraction of a second before impact. The glowing hexagonal barrier flares to life, catching the deadly volley just in time. Liam clenches his fist in pure triumph, successfully acquiring the ultimate magical defense while Ladon watches in uneasy awe. The triumph is shattered when Asuna bursts in, frantic, screaming for Liam to teleport immediately to point 17. He locks onto the coordinates and vanishes, utilizing the massive expanded range of his newly grown town. Guy freezes at the sight of a massive, heavily armed procession demanding an urgent audience with the king. The formal envoy steps forward, bringing the crushing diplomatic weight of an entire principality to their doorstep. The envoy, X-Blast, smiles smoothly and delivers his Archduke's demand. Lady Flora must be wed to His Majesty Liam. Liam chokes on the word marriage, completely blindsided by the sheer audacity of the political ambush. X-Blast casually probes about Liam's postponed wedding to Princess Scarlet before throwing open the carriage door. A frilled-skirted girl steps out into the light, making the impossible, terrifying marriage proposal terrifyingly real. The envoy treats the royal marriage like a simple financial transaction, offering to hand over the girl right then and there. Liam's brain short-circuits at the sickening noble logic, panicking as the envoy takes his hesitation for acceptance. A massive blast detonates, ripping the ground open and hurling lethal debris everywhere. Liam throws up a hexagonal barrier, catching the brutal shockwave head-on to shield the girl from being torn apart. Asuna screams a desperate warning as another deadly blast bears down on them. Liam slams his absolute magic shield into the air, throwing up the ultimate defense just in time to absorb the second explosion. The explosion tears the earth apart, leaving the survivors coughing in the choking dust. Rising from the smoke is a suicide element, an artificial monster built solely to detonate and kill. Liam realizes a 1-second delay would have torn the girl to pieces, his eyes snapping to the empty spot where the envoy vanished. Ladon dryly confirms the attacker is already gone, leaving Liam to despise the bizarre, lethal cruelty of nobles. Liam teleports to the capital and drags Scarlet back to identify the girl and the envoy's true motives. Scarlet takes one look and confirms the marriage proposal is a calculated political attack dressed up as a wedding. Scarlet recognizes X-Blast as a covert operations mastermind and pieces together the sickening trap. Flora was meant to be married off and then slaughtered by monsters to justify a full-scale invasion. Scarlet dryly mocks the cleverness of human schemes before noticing a familiar, damning detail on the unconscious girl. She checks Flora with a smug grin, leaving Liam completely flustered by the sudden sharp shift in her mood. Scarlet reveals Flora is the Archduke's illegitimate daughter, proving it by pointing out a specific mole recorded in the noble registries. Flora stirs awake, dazed and fragile, asking if she has died and gone to heaven. Liam cuts off her disbelief, bluntly telling her not to try dying on her own after he just saved her life. Flora panics, recoiling and begging them to stay away because she is dangerously, lethally cursed. Liam confidently assumes she means more magical explosions, but Flora thrusts out her arm to reveal the horrifying truth. Black curse marks crawl across her skin like cracks in her flesh, burning through her body from the inside. Flora realizes the blast was just the first layer, designed to spread a lethal curse to anyone nearby. She begs her saviors to stay back, but Liam reaches for her cursed wrist anyway. Liam catches her wrist, and the black marks instantly vanish in a bright, blinding flash of holy light. He grins and tells her it's all clear, leaving Flora trembling in absolute disbelief at the broken curse. Scarlet smugly points out that holy magic makes curses trivial for Liam, but Flora's horror only deepens. She reveals the curse was actually meant to transform her into a monster that would then blindly obey her father's commands. Liam's eyes sharpen as he recognizes the vile magic as ghoul liquid, the exact same nightmare tied to Dracula. The political trap is laced with the very same cursed item that created the vampire lord. Liam presses Flora about hostages from her country, but before she can finish her fearful confession, he cuts right through her terror. He swears to protect her, offering her a place with them as she nods through her tears. And that's where this part leaves us. If you want to see whether Liam's story really ends here, hit subscribe and check back for the next part.